Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Click R3, number 26. It's a great time right now. Great time.
Great time.
I platinumed a game that Ryan's going to have to do as well eventually. I'm rolling through Death Stranding 2 right now at one of the, and you know, it's good when it's a game you kind of forget how much time you have into it. And then you look and you're like, wow, I'm already like 7 hours into a game that just came out.
Oh, screw you, John. This guy over here, he has to be responsible, buy it early, pay the early access, digital, mind you, digital.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here like a sack of Idaho potatoes waiting for physical, which I can't even start until Monday because we're like going out of town soon anyway.
Aren't you just going to buy it? Wouldn't you just buy it physically anyway if you got it digitally and could play it now and then you get it later physically on sale?
Say that again. My mind did not process at all what you just said.
If you bought it digitally now, so you get a head start, maybe if you want to throw some thoughts around, say in a Let's Talk place or something like that, you can be like, oh, here's what I think of it real quick. If you bought it now with the early access in mind, so you got it right away, played a bunch of it before we went to too many games.
Yeah.
And then during the holiday season, when you see the sales roll out for the thing and it's like $40 or $50 or something, and you pick up the physical then.
How much money do you think I have? I'm gonna drop $100-something on this game just to own it twice. You nuts?
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be real. I mean, Death Stranding 1 got pretty cheap too.
I can wait the 3 days, but apparently you can't. We have a podcast. Let's talk about it.
I did it for the people.
I'm busting this can of Pepsi Zero Sugar Wild Cherry right now. Got to let the folks know what I'm drinking tonight.
One of these?
Hey! Oh shit! That was not planned. That was not planned even a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I picked up a packet as Sam's Club. We're getting to Costco too.
I got it today at Walmart.
Oh, Walmart. Okay, I buy them both.
Yes, sir. I was rolling through. Actually, no. Where did I go? I went to Acme. I'm sorry.
They've got a triple pack. So they got wild cherry, then standard, and then
trips.
Then cream wild cherry. You know, I love any of these drinks that do like sweet cream or something. It's delicious. Yeah. That's how I'm rolling, John. That's how I'm rolling. I'm not buying and playing Death Stranding 2. I'm drinking 0-calorie sugar drinks. Well, zero sugar, but fizzy drinks is the better way to put it.
Sure. I did the platinum for MindsEye. You saw that?
Yeah. You want to go back to that? Sure. Let's talk about your MindsEye platinum.
I told you I was gonna do it.
You didn't say that. You said you could do it.
I could. I beat the game. It's like 10 hours. And then I went back and I looked and I was like, I'm missing one trophy. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. But you're missing one trophy in that other game too. You didn't bother to do that.
But this was a bit easier because I realized it was at the beginning of one of the levels. And when you beat the game, you go through a menu. You can pick any one you want to go to, any of the story missions. It'll teleport you there and you start it back up. The thing I was missing takes place right at the beginning of one of the missions. And it's like, don't take any damage for this couple of minutes or something where you're trying to navigate a drone. It's like, oh, okay, I could do that. Went there, did it, took 15 minutes, platinum popped, took the picture, put it on Twitter or X just for you.
Thanks. Yeah. It seems like that's the only way you ever do a platinum is if it's like handed to you, basically.
There has to be some spite involved. So now I'm like, Ryan's not gonna he's not gonna let this sit. He's not gonna let it. No,
I'm not jealous of your MindsEye platinum. Let's get that straight.
You might be
real fast.
You might be like subconsciously. You might be like, "There's no way he has that," and I don't. 30 days, 30 platinum trophies in 30 days coming up. You know, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah, look at you spoiling stuff. See, John, you're spoiling my video. What if
MindsEye's a good one?
What if I do it? Here's why I'm not jealous of you. Until you platinum BB and Tina on the horse farm, you don't mean shit to me.
How much time does that take?
I don't know. It's like maybe like 6 hours, 7 hours. Or that Hannah Montana PS3 game too. That one's a nightmare as well. Oh no, and the Barbie game. The Barbie game also sucks. Rescuing puppies.
How about this? Here's a good test. Okay, take those platinum trophies, take pictures of them, and then post it up on X, and see if you get the same response I did when I posted MindsEye's platinum.
Well, that's you know how uneven that is. One's culturally relevant right now.
People were quoting saying that this is like the depths of the underworld and stuff. I'm going to show them this so they know what pain looks like.
I know Tom Henderson quote retweeted that. I'm like, oh wow.
Yep. People are shocked at this MindsEye Platinum, and it's not. You just got to beat the game, and
Yeah,
the game
it
itself,
looks easy.
the game itself isn't that interesting at all. It's just you just got to go through it. It's about 10 hours, and you may have the platinum right there. You may be missing one, and you can just teleport around and to get it done if you want.
Yeah, I would have liked to do like a separate like trophy upload for it, but I just don't got the time for that right now. Especially with DS2 right around the corner for some people.
You got to get on that.
Not so much for others. John, I got to put down Rebirth for this. I got to put down Rebirth. It's crazy.
I've played about 7 hours. Based on what the it goes with that the PlayStation counter on the bottom right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes that feels off because it doesn't match up to the in-game time. Sometimes
I did a video 2 years ago, like testing the methodology for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember my own conclusion. I think the conclusion was like it's generally pretty reliable. And it sort of veers off due to a circumstance of like I think AFK. I can't remember though.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, it says I'm right at like the 7 hour mark. Basically, it might be 7 and some change. It just says like 7, H or whatever next to it, which is fine. But I did like the opening part of it, and then there's kind of that section where they get you back on track. Hey, do you remember when you played this? Kind of set up years ago or something. So they have a nice little way to reacclimate you to the whole thing. Like you don't have to go back and play Death Stranding 1 to be like, okay, yeah, that's right. That's how I balanced and went through everything. But the thing that is immediately striking, visually speaking, this might be the best game I've ever seen, like graphics wise. Yeah, this might be character models, environment details, the art direction. It all comes together really, really well. And it looks insane if you have a nice TV and OLED, just something that can really like show this off. The PS5 Pro, by the way, coming through in a big way here. All right. So performance mode looks like the quality mode just in 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro. So if you have that, this is going to show off that hardware as well. But the thing that I think is most noticeable is with Death Stranding 1, there were a lot of points where it almost felt too slow. I get what he was trying to do with it, but a little too slow. And combat was like a non-factor. You didn't really think too much about it, because when I would fight things, you would shoot these enemies, you'd shoot them with like the thing that ties up their feet or something.
The bola gun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's cool. No, here it kind of almost feels like he started taking Metal Gear Solid stuff and putting it into the game. It's getting close. It is. Even early on, they just let you kind of do combat, which is cool. So it feels like you have, for anyone who doesn't know, Death Stranding 2 is still delivering stuff. Go figure, right? Like that's what it is. But it feels like there's a lot more to do on the way to your destination. Like there's just stuff in the way, and you decide how you want to plot your course. It feels just more dense. And so far, just early on, man, they're already hitting with different environments. They talked about in the previews. I'm sure you saw some of the previews around the setting, Ryan.
Yeah. As of now, like with the game being out, that's where I'm sort of turned off on it. But up to like the final sort of press material, like I saw a lot of that stuff.
So, it's Mexico and Australia.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. But they do this thing where you immediately know that you're in Australia. Like, so they're doing a lot to separate the areas, which I really do like. So it doesn't feel the same constantly. Like, okay, I'm got to walk back through that grassy patch, that big field again. And no, each biome almost so far that I've seen feels very different. And they also mentioned this in the previews, but they do have real-time weather effects that are happening that actually affects how you're delivering stuff and going about things. Like right away, like you're going to see, they showed avalanches and stuff. They have like earthquakes. I've seen strong wind, and it's things that little touches that really do affect it, but real-time night and day system that happens. I've seen that go on. There's a lot. The world feels much more alive than Death Stranding 1. And the music kicking in the right time. It's that feeling again, Ryan, from the first one. I'm telling you, it's all there. It's all there.
Yeah, I'm not jealous at all.
it's dude, the game it's so good so far. But again, if you like Death Stranding 1, you're really going to like this. If you didn't like Death Stranding 1, they might have a chance to still kind of turn you around on it because it's faster moving so far. Like the story is happening quickly. They still have questions that they've put up in front of you, but it's not everything's a mystery. Who knows what's going on? They explain stuff pretty quick, and then they have a few major plot points that have already happened, like ones that have like serious implications to the story. So it's maybe that'll grab people more than the first one, which took a little while to get going. So you're gonna get a kick out of Ryan. You're gonna like this game a lot.
Over on Metacritic, it's at a 90 right now, across over 100 reviews. And then OpenCritic, it's a 90 as well, with 96% critics recommended. It is definitely being received very, very well. Not nearly as polarizing as it once was, I think, arguably. Which, I mean, that was a story. I'm not sure if you've sort of encountered this, but that was one thing that happened with the artist Woodkid, where they were speaking with the Rolling Stone, and they gave that anecdote about how the game was. I guess Kojima approached him at a certain point, like halfway through making the game, and was like, "Hey, we got a problem here, Buster.
Yeah, I saw that.
we got an issue. People are liking this shit a little too much." So they had to go back and I guess change something. It's just to make it a little bit more polarizing. Just to, I guess, their sort of methodology there was make it polarizing, make you dislike it at first, but then afterwards, if you get over that hump, you'll truly love it, is how they were phrasing it, which is interesting.
Yeah. I'm curious what that change was. I'm interested. I mean, maybe it's when I get through the game or further in, you'll be like, oh, okay, this would have been, I almost feel like it has something to do with the gameplay. Maybe it was too easy or quick to get around, or like, I'm thinking that, because that was the big controversy when the first one came out, was he's obviously hiding something. This isn't a package delivery game. No, there's something here. And then we got it, and that was it. And that was the big hang up for people, right? Was the gameplay and the idea of legitimately just walking with this stuff. So maybe he had, for example, right away, you had powerful legs that ran really fast, or you had more vehicles that didn't have substantial battery drain, or it's just easier to get around. Maybe.
Something. I mean, the way you referred to it was like, oh, it's too mainstream. It's like, I get where he's coming from. The first game already was not mainstream. It's not mainstream. Well, it's mainstream in the sense that like now it's had a lot of people exposed to it. And that's maybe why people are like so on board with the sequel, as long as it's more evolutionary, just build upon what was already there.
More than 20 million people have played it.
Yeah. And so it's not like it's not like people are walking into DS2 thinking like, oh, I really hope this isn't a package simulator. Like they know they know what they're getting. Yeah, I keep hearing too, John. It's like it's whether it's like the praise for the Decima engine, how gorgeous the game looks, this like nearly instant load sequence that happens for the game. It's like,
yes,
it appears as though arguably, and I'm sure you could speak more to this than I can right now, but this is sort of one of those coming to strides PlayStation 5 games of like, this is why you get the console. It feels like a PS5 game.
Yep. I wouldn't show you anyway, because I feel like where I'd load into it. The thing with this game is, what the spoilers are? It's not even, the story would be so out of context if I just showed it to anyone.
Sure.
They would have no idea. You know what the spoiler is? It's seeing some of these areas for the first time, and even having the music and the things playing around it. Like, that's all the stuff that would be more spoiler territory, because it really is like this impressive form of, yes, graphics, but also kind of the art and kind of the atmosphere all blended together. That's what I hate to show someone, is to load into a really cool looking spot, and that's the first time they saw it, just so I could show them that, yes, it loads in less than a second, which it does. You hit like on the save menu screen, you want to load in. I've loaded back into the game like twice so far, and it caught me off guard both times, because it's like, hit the button, as soon as the sound effect plays, there's a very short fade to black that maybe you won't even see. It's like that, and you're in. So it's kind of cool the way it does it.
That's the thing. I haven't seen it, because I think you're right on the money. I think you could show story stuff all day, every day. If you're playing it, it might not even make sense to you in some cases, right? I think the spoiler territory is like, robbing somebody those moments of like going down a cliff and that music kicks in or something like that. So don't get me wrong. I'm very, very excited to eventually see it.
you saw the trailer, obviously, when they were jumping between scenes.
Yeah, initial trailers. Yeah.
There was the one that I looked at and I was like, man, I kind of wish when he's walking towards the moon. I'm like, that feels like one I wish they hadn't shown me.
Well, I mean, damn thing is, whenever he puts out trailers, it's so weird how it's like, it's not uniquely Kojima, but it seems like a very Kojima thing. It's like an 8-minute trailer, 9-minute trailer, 10-minute. He puts out these long, sort of like almost Adult Swim style, like miniseries episodes of the game before it comes out. It's kind of insane. Well, it seems like DS2 is doing very well, off to a strong start. Very strong start.
I think it's gonna be big time. I think it's gonna sell really well, and he's off and running to Physant next. So that's I gotta tell you, from what I'm seeing right now in this game, Ryan, if that's a PS6 game, and I kind of feel like it's cross-platform. But if they give him the green light and they're like, make a PlayStation 6 only game, dude, I'm telling you, man, he's still crazy Kojima. This is going to do some weird stuff here.
I wonder if we'd even get PS6 only games. It'd be so arbitrary. There'd be like no reason.
Well, I assume they'd still want to get people to the next generation, and Physant is probably a 2030 or 2031 game.
Oh, by then, maybe you'd start seeing some, but those diminishing returns aren't necessarily helping the case, you know.
But maybe they open it up to where he can use AI and some other craziness. I don't know, man. Kojima's got some ideas, I'm sure.
Well, he does. They're on a USB stick too.
Remember when he said that he had an idea for a horror game where it would email you outside of the game?
That's so stupid.
I mean, you got like AI and stuff, and you consent to it when they're going through the thing that no one ever reads.
Yeah.
You're in.
Sure. Here's my email address. Little do you know.
The thing starts like doxing you online and sending you pizzas and stuff.
No, nobody reads the terms of service where it tells you there's a gameplay element, and we will email you about this. I see it. I see.
Maybe it. OD is supposed to be like cloud based, where they have a lot of the information. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, that too. All right, John, you want to get to some basic news stories?
Sure.
We got the PS Plus Essential July lineup announced recently. That's going live on July 1st. John, we're looking at Diablo 4 for PS4, PS5, The King of Fighters 15, PS4, PS5, and Jusant for PS5 as well. So there's our 3 games. I feel like there's a pretty strong lineup. Probably the best one of this year. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
No, Diablo 4 is definitely a good one. I mean, it's still relatively current. I know there's things they can do to get more money out of you, like Microsoft and Activision can after the fact. That's a good game to throw in there, though, to claim and put in your library.
Yeah, that and Jusant as well. Cool little, it's like a slightly puzzle-y style game, climbing up a mountain, very artistic looking from Don't Nod. I think it's like they kind of checked the boxes here for at least 3 games, so I think it's the best month so far. Next up, we have the PS Portal update. The Portal got version 5.1.0. There is nothing new to report here, just FYI. Only 2 changes on the change log, which is improving system software performance and also improving messages and usability on some screens. So as of right now, there's still no like major updates for like the cloud streaming catalog. It still looks the way it looks, still in beta, but sometimes they sneak things into these updates. But in this one, it would appear as though there's not much going on. Oh, I forgot to mention 6 games leaving PS Plus Extra and Premium. These are leaving July 16th. So get your game time in on these titles. That would be Dying Light 2, Remnant 2, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord. John, you're going to hate this. Vampire the Masquerade, Swan Song. And then for Premium, Job Simulator, the PSVR 2 version.
Why even have the service anymore? That was that. I mean, some of those are. I mean, Final Fantasy and Remnant and stuff. Those are bigger games to leave.
Those are big ones. At least we're not seeing like 20 games leaving all in a row, which was happening for a little bit there, to be honest.
I will say the essentials, the games they're throwing in there, does make me wonder about what they have for Extra and Premium, because that's a pretty good essential lineup to try to live up to for the more expensive tier.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is that we're seeing a lot of essential games, like old essential games, go into Extra, and so those are like dead games to people. But it's like if you subscribe to Plus way down the road, you wouldn't have that in your game library. So I see why they do it, but for like long-term Plus subscribers, it's like the longer you build your catalog, the less appealing Extra and Premium tend to be.
Right. Yeah, and also this is the 15th anniversary for PlayStation Plus, so maybe they got something good for extra and premium lined up.
This is true. We do have that story coming up later too. Which
Okay.
first I will mention we did have a PS Plus premium leak. This does tend to happen out of Taiwan. Almost always it's these Taiwan ratings that get caught. So Legacy of Kain Defiance was rated for PS4, PS5. That's the PS2 game. So considering we had Blood Omen, that remaster came out, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 last year, this is probably coming out fairly soon, if I had to guess. The issue is that it's probably going to be that game and nothing else. So I would expect in the coming months that will probably appear.
Yeah, that's still a good one to throw in there. We had the Legacy of Kain, we had 1 and 2 remasters, so I guess it's just following that up. Although we had Wall-E rated forever ago, didn't we? And that's now still not in there.
I think Wall-E's up, isn't it?
Is it? I was not aware. Are you sure?
The PSP one, yeah.
Oh, it was PSP because I thought it was rated for PS2 as well, or was it just PSP?
I can check real quick. PlayStation Store.
I thought it was Legacy Kain go in like soonish. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, that was 4 months ago. Oh yeah, I guess it's not up yet. Yeah, well, either way.
Well, that's 4 months. I mean, it could be something towards the end of the year, maybe for Legacy Kain.
True. Although you're not missing much with Wall-E.
Hey, could be we don't know about the platinum. Could be an easy platinum.
I think they're all easy platinums generally. You did bring up the 15th year anniversary. We'll just jump right to that. So because the 15th year anniversary is coming up, PS Plus launched back in 2010 on PS3 would have been at the time. We had this really interesting interview come up over on Stephen Totillo's newsletter Game File. The Vice President of Global Services of PlayStation, Nick McGuire, was talking about the upcoming anniversary. So they are planning on doing promotions and things like that. I'm sure they'll really outline a lot of that stuff fairly soon because it would be the end of this month. But we do have a number of things that Nick did touch on. So I wanted to briefly go over that. He did talk about possible price increases. Didn't really give us much of an answer there. They said no comment, no plans on pricing to talk about directly. This kind of ties in with the recent business segment briefing, which we'll talk about later as well. But they said, and I quote here, "I think we just want to invest in Plus. We want to invest in the proposition, bring more value to users, and we're seeing high growth in Extra and Premium," which that dives right into a number of stats we got about PS Plus. So they were at least willing to outline a few little factoids. Premium has grown 18% in the last 12 months. So despite the price increase, more people are indeed paying for Premium. John, it's not stopping them.
No.
They're subscribing to Premium. They've also reached 2 billion game hours in the last year across first and third-party games. 81% of Plus subscribers own a PS5. That's up from 70% last year. And they also told us the top 10 most played Plus games from April to May of this year based on hours. Number 1 is Dead by Daylight. 2, Ghost of Tsushima. 3, God of War Ragnarok. 4, GTA 5. 5, Hogwarts Legacy. 6, The Last of Us Part 1. 7, Spider-Man Miles Morales. 8, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. 9, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. And number 10 was UFC 5. Still have a lot of those first-party games driving the game hours there. Mm-hmm. Dead by Daylight's kind of surprising at number 1, but also not. Like I know people that have put like thousands of hours into that game.
That's the game, huh? I never got into it.
Yeah. Some people like they love it, dude. Like that is kind of I'm pretty sure it's like a pretty thriving community. So it's funny that's the way some people access that game over these PS Studio titles. That's funny. Or GTA 5 even, which is crazy.
GTA 5, I mean that has like GTA Online attached to it, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I guess I could see that, or just in general, GTA 5, people still play that constantly and they buy it all the time. So, and now especially, I bet you that's all a huge spike where GTA 6 got announced and revealed. I mean, that was like a year ago, and then they did another trailer. I'm sure the traffic for that game, GTA 5, went way up on PlayStation Plus and stuff.
Probably, yeah. I can't imagine they're hurting for money over there.
No.
But speaking on the first party games, Nick McGuire did also reaffirm, unsurprisingly, you're not getting these games day and date. So they said, and I quote here, "We've sort of stayed true to our strategy across the board where we're not looking to put games in day and date. However, he says, quote, our strategy to finding 4 or 5 independent day and date titles and using that to complement our strategy of bringing games in when they're 12, 18 months old or older, that balance for us is working really well across the platform. Now, he did also clarify that doesn't mean it has to be 4 to 5 games a year. He's just saying that, like, if we could do 6 or 7, we would do that, but that is still their strategy. Does that surprise you even a little bit?
No, because people, of course, look at Microsoft as would do what they're doing, and I don't really know why. Sony's results now show they don't really need to. So that's just it. They clearly are being careful with the idea of putting these games, and they even took one out. Like we took what you call it out of there, Infamous randomly. Yeah, so they I'm sure look at this as let's not diminish the value of these games that we're releasing day one specifically because we feel like we're gonna sell them. And you look at what's going on with Microsoft right now, to where it's no secret they don't exactly sell a stupid amount of copies on their storefront when a game goes into Game Pass. People just subscribe to Game Pass, and that's fine. And they seem fine with that. So it's a path for Microsoft, but not necessarily a path for Sony. And they've shown that yes, God of War comes out, we sell 12 million copies very quickly. And so I don't know why in their mind they would go, well, now we have to do day one into premium. The idea though of getting smaller games, I don't think it's a good idea, because there are games that occasionally you roll the dice and you hit on, like Blueprints. That rated really highly. People were really happy to see that become available and play. I mean, that's where I played it. I played it through the premium service.
Yeah.
So when you have those kind of games hit, and sometimes look, you get a bad game and it's like, well, whatever. Okay. It's in here. But the idea of getting these games that maybe you wouldn't have checked out without premium, I think that's only good for everyone. It's good for the person who has subscription, good for the indie company that, I mean, probably got a decent bag for it too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I loved when they did Bugsnax. I thought it was great that Stray was exposed to such a huge audience. Yep. It's funny. They do generally seem to be really good at picking out some of those day one titles for like the smaller games relative to this expectation of like what Microsoft is doing. But it's funny. I find it's like even a tougher proposition nowadays, if only because like even when you sell these games a la carte, we're still having this very conscious conversation of like, AAA development's kind of unsustainable. My God, these 9-figure budgets are insane. Even when we're selling them at $70, now it might have to be $80. These budgets are ballooning. They're taking a long time to put these games out. I think it's even a tougher sell to try and humor the idea of putting these games on there now.
I will say if they want to take a shot at one though, it would make sense with one of their live service games.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing where it might make the most sense, although they still seem pretty firm on this idea of we'd like to sell this to you at 40. 40 seems to be the sort of magic number they like doing.
Well, I think the reason, Ryan, they're concerned about making their game free to play, and I realize this, is if it doesn't cost money and it's free to play, you don't need PlayStation Plus to play it. So yeah, I wonder if that's a concern for them. They're like, well, we make these games also to hold up the subscription service works in tandem with that. So that's why I think it makes more sense. Sell it for 40, but put it in PlayStation Plus Premium, because they still need premium to not only access the game, but also play it online.
Well, I mean, it's not a good look if they have to do a sort of like exception policy change of like, because typically that is the expectation. Free to plays, away from Plus, but I don't know. It's got to be one of those things where it's got to get exposed to a big audience if they want these games to thrive. But it seems like they're still pretty committed to this idea of like, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, but if you feel like if they continue to struggle, that would be a strategy they might look at. Like, hey, what if we did put Marathon into premium? What would happen? Would we really lose that much if we did it on PlayStation Plus? Would it hurt us that bad? Or do we have a bunch more people come in that wouldn't have played it, and then they'll also look into, I don't know, I'm sure they're gonna have skins or some kind of fake currency that you give them real money for, something like that. Well, we get more money in the back end is kind of the idea.
Yeah. Although, it's always true as far as if it's a good game, it's a good game. It's making it free or accessible. Like, sure, that might give it a booster shot, but I don't know. I think we've seen time and time again that's not really what saves these games. You just have to make something compelling, like a Helldivers 2. And people will pay for it.
Sometimes the game doesn't have to be good. It's like, how compelling is the franchise? Like, I mean, let's be real.
Calling it Marvel, right? Oh, I thought you were calling
both bought Pokemon.
Whoa, what are you trying to say here?
We both bought. I bet you we both bought Violet. You have Violet?
Of course, I have Violet.
See?
But I don't think Violet's a bad game. It's just the performance shit. That's the worst thing you could say about it.
There you go.
That's not even close to the same thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. The strength of the brand overcame the fact that game was hanging on for dear life anytime you press start.
Oh, this guy's just taking leaps of faith here. These leaps of logic. I don't know. Frame rate.
That game was jacked up, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it was, but nothing was stopping that game from selling what it was going to sell.
That's what I mean, because the brand is so strong. Sometimes you just have a strong brand, it works.
Sure, but I don't know what point we're trying to get across here. I thought you were talking about Marvel Rivals.
Oh no, I mean that works too. That's if you remove the Marvel IP or the characters, then you have a basic kind of hero shooter style game. It clearly wouldn't have done as well.
Yeah, well, got that going on. We do have one more thing to mention for this Plus story. So, John, I was shocked to hear this. PS3 streaming titles, they're not going away.
Dude,
so
what are we doing here?
So, Steven did bring up the topic of classic games, which McGuire said, funny enough, he said, we try to bring one game to the service a month at a minimum. Like, yeah, it's kind of what we already. Yeah. Well, I think we can see that in plain sight when it takes.
Let's be careful here. Let's not get too crazy with it. We might go to 2.
So it's like, he doesn't name them, but he refers to implicit conversions. He says the emulation team we work with, and that's implicit. He did at least give a very minor explanation. He just said there's a slightly longer lead time on those games. So it's fun to laugh at the situation. I still always try to empathize with implicit because it's probably pain in the ass getting those games brought back. But so they commented on that, one game a month. But as far as PS3 streaming goes, McGuire said that adding those is tougher, and they said they'll continue to do more. They have not ruled PS3 out completely. I'm shocked. How are we still doing this?
It is weird, especially since the problem they run into is across from them is Microsoft, who keeps doing stuff with backwards compatibility natively. And yes, you just have to download the game, but I think people would be okay if you could put your PS3 game into your PS5 and then it downloads the 20 gigabytes of the PS3 game that's been optimized and set up through also some sort of emulator, I'm sure, to make it all come together. I don't know if anyone out there is expecting even now to be able to put a PS3 game into the PS5 and it do anything. So at that point, we already kind of understand it's going to be a digital experience, but we still can't get a PS3 emulator put together. I don't understand.
But John, what I'm shocked about is it's not even about a solution in place. It's just that how are these you want these server blades online? You're keeping these things online? It feels like they just don't have a choice. Well, sure, but they've got to be so energy inefficient.
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of people are not using them and launching these games. And it's weird that he's like, oh yeah, we won't rule that out. You haven't added any. You put Resistance in, then took it out.
That's a good point. I almost wonder if there was something going on with those server blades with Resistance. They're like, oh my gosh, let's just get this thing out of here.
Well, I thought for sure, I was convinced that this year, last year, we're going to see games get taken off. Here's the lineup of games leaving. And it's just nothing but PS3 games that are finally leaving. They're slowly taking them down. But I don't know. I mean, I always try to look at the silver lining. Perhaps they're only maintaining them until a solution is in place, because we know implicit is exploring or dreaming about PS3 emulation.
Yeah.
So,
I think they see an opportunity.
Well, maybe just the opportunity of waiting until they have a solution. But
that's the thing. They see an obvious problem, and they're like, if we could figure that out. I mean, they already got us for PS2. They all of a sudden now they got us for a long time with PS3, and maybe they get more money for it.
That's even if implicit, because they do have their own model. They still work with other publishers and release things completely outside of Sony. So it's I know we like to associate it with Sony. You would think that's what's going on, but
right.
It's just the thing is, I still think they've got PS3 source code. work directly with implicit. Like, just try to facilitate that to a degree where like you actually get something, up and running.
Yeah, I almost wonder if, so they mentioned they're going to try to do more stuff with it. I wonder if there's a concern that if a game that they decide to put into the PS3 library is too popular, because you mentioned, I mean, they only have so many of these server blades that are active that are probably within a certain threshold of functionality even.
Yeah.
What if they put out a game that's so popular, everyone's trying to, play this game, even though it's through streaming, and that they're struggling to keep up?
I don't think there is a single PlayStation 3 game that would do that.
None?
What could possibly what would do that, really? Because the streaming's still that bad. It's not a great experience.
Or maybe just if they started doing one PS3 game a month and they were hitting on some decent ones, they make the deal. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 is going in. You start thinking of that. That's a good one. And it has like 4 players and stuff you could do.
Yeah, but
set
then
that up.
Okay, but then people try it, and probably a lot of them for the very first time, and they realize it's shit, and they don't do it ever again.
You put like Puppeteer in there?
That's okay. Okay, John, come on. The niche
3D Game Heroes?
The niche Japan studio game that arguably was like towards the tailspin of like Japan studio closing. That's going to be the reason. Okay.
That's the one. Apparently Resistance was too much for it to handle.
So speaking of which, they did also talk about why they take their own games out. Mm-hmm. We have a very PR answer here, but I'm gonna read it to you anyway. So why do we see Resistance leave? Why do we see Infamous leave? McGuire said the delistings are about balance. Quote, we've got 80 collections of games across the catalog, so we want to keep it fresh and bring in new games. Sometimes that means taking a few games out at the same time to keep the proposition interesting and help people find new games as well. I mean, that's just it's a PR answer.
Yeah, I don't really understand that at all. It's like, if you want people to find stuff, you can resort them.
Well, they don't have to leave. He's just saying, "Oh, we take them out, so we put them back in, and that looks cool." How else do you say that?
It. Yeah, I don't. Okay, I guess.
So hold on. You want to move on to the next story, or you don't? Are you anything else you want to add?
No, you're good. You're good. That's a funny answer.
I forgot this when you were talking about MindsEye. So there was some initial reports that people were getting refunds for MindsEye from PlayStation support, which is rare, very rare. That seldom happens. They've got a very strict return policy on digital goods. So if you even so much as download the game, not even launch it, if you download a game, you are not eligible for a refund. But some people were apparently able to secure refunds from chat support from MindsEye.
The game's pretty. I mean, the game's, when it came out, it was bad. Even the PS5 Pro. I mean, we got the PS5 Pro because we thought, okay, this is going to help out with some problem games. The game is so problematic that it's not locked 30. It's usually less than that by a decent amount. I think there were some Digital Foundry findings where they were like in the teens for some of these scenes in the game. It's crazy. And you see it right away. But even so, there's crashing the dashboard. People were noticing that a lot. And the whole game feels so unstable. And then on top of that, it's just not a very good game. So if you feel like you can get your money back, $60, there are a lot of people I'm sure that were moving on that. Like, you know what? It's a big enough thing. I'm going to take a shot. And then if you're Sony and these requests keep coming in, you're probably like, something wrong with this game. So we're just going to go ahead and start approving this.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm curious if there was like an internal bulletin that said like all the agents are like clear to approve them if that comes in. Kind of like what we saw with Cyberpunk, because that was pretty big at the time too.
It didn't get to the point though where they delisted MindsEye, so it must not have been as bad as Cyberpunk. I imagine it was still higher than normal though.
Probably because it didn't sell as well as Cyberpunk.
That's a good point. It didn't have, I mean, it still had some intrigue to it because it was mysterious because they didn't really do anything. I did the preview and they didn't let us play the game in the preview. We watched somebody play the game and it didn't look great. It looked very confusing and weird that we were just sitting there watching in teams. And then they just told us over and over again, Leslie Benzies is, at the top of the studio. And that was it. That was it. They didn't send review copies out. Nothing.
It's rather unfortunate too that the team is now seeing some layoffs.
I mean, that's what happens when again this was gonna be a big thing. They're gonna have like this is gonna be in this environment called Everything, and I don't know, we're supposed to do all this stuff, and it wasn't gonna work out. It was doomed for failure.
What a shame.
I guess.
Let's move on to some PS Studio news here. So, Ghost of Yotei. Not only is Ghost of Yotei officially less than 100 days away from coming out, but we saw over on the PS blog, the co-creative director Nate Fox talk about one of their recent research visits to Hokkaido, Japan. And they gave a very small little anecdote here about something that they're adding to the game. So their NU cultural advisor had them up on a nearby mountain where they were foraging for vegetables. And this experience was so great that they just decided later that night that they would put foraging into the game. So that was like a direct consequence of the site visit, which is foraging is going to be in Yotei. They didn't say much else beyond that, but I thought that was kind of a neat little thing that they shared on the PS blog.
I mean, that's the big part about the first one is they did a lot of research into his personal experience so that they got it as close as they could for sort of the culture in the area. It's kind of hard to get the exact time period because you're not going to go back in time, but I mean, they did well enough to where they got like an award for it and everything. They're recognized. So thing is, now you have a lot of expectations to live up to for Yotei after what they did with Ghost of Tsushima. And for a lot of the stuff we've seen so far, it's looking good, but we got the big Ghost of Yotei specific state of play coming up in July. So
yes,
we will see, but I'm very excited. Highly anticipating Ghost of Yotei.
Very much, very much. Curious what foraging actually is too, because the first game already kind of had an element of that to a degree. I don't know.
It's a way to get materials or food.
Well, it's open world games, right? That's kind of like the sort of by the books thing, foraging and picking up objects. So I'm curious if there's anything like different here that they're saying, because like I read this and I'm like, oh, that's neat, but I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is this just like the standard picking things up kind of? I don't know. Hopefully there's something different there. Next up, we have Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. So a bunch of fans over on Reddit noticed on a former Naughty Dog designer's LinkedIn that there's a specific thing they list on their experience for this game where they said this person worked on RPG progression systems for Intergalactic. So there's now some speculation on what does that mean exactly. I would posit that that's a very broad term. So you could arguably say that Last of Us Part 1 and 2 had RPG progression systems because you can augment Joel and Ellie with the pills that you pick up or upgrading your guns. So I wouldn't look too deeply into it, but I do get where people are coming from, given that we're hearing this is the most gameplay heavy sort of focused title from Naughty Dog. They're very inspired by From Software for this game in particular. So perhaps it is kind of a plop down open world, and you do have like much deeper progression systems compared to what we've seen in previous games.
Yeah, you think how deep they're going to go with this one? Like, are we going to have numbers next to things for this?
No, I don't.
Like
I think
stats and stuff.
Well, I don't want to say no. Well, so like in the menus, you'd see like not like this 5%.
Like the jacket you have has X amount of armor, and then maybe frost resistance or something. Or this is a good one to use in this biome because it's cold or there's snow around and people are using ice based weapons.
Yeah, I would. I think if you do that, it looks too. I think you know what I'm
too video gamey.
Yeah, does that make sense, John?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because they're going to try to keep it. I mean, Last of Us clearly very grounded, very realistic, very gritty game. This though, being more sci-fi, feels like you can get a little video gamey because it'll be a bit more imaginative.
Maybe it just doesn't read modern Naughty Dog to me. I think maybe there is a system there, but and this might be frustrating by the time people are playing it, but I think they would obfuscate a lot of like that information. Maybe they try and telegraph it a different way, but I don't know if you go full blown numbers on the screen, like the 3% buff to this and 2%. Right. I don't know if you go all in, especially for
so it does. It starts to look. Sometimes we get that, and we get the idea of, oh, this looks kind of like that live service game. You know, remember Gotham Knights had that where they brought the menu up, or Suicide Squad as well. You're like, what is this? It looks like a cell phone live service kind of game with numbers everywhere.
Yeah, it's like as bullets are connecting on enemies, like all the numbers are flying off them or something.
Yeah, you definitely don't need that in Intergalactic, and you're right, it doesn't read. Where I feel like they say FromSoft, it's almost like when you're playing the game, the big thing there is the HUD disappears, and it's just you and the world. That I'm hoping is more what they meant when they took inspiration from FromSoft, where it wasn't just hey, we're gonna draw the line for you to where to go. It's like we're gonna create environments of this planet you've never explored before in a way to sort of direct you better,
right?
So you can kind of do what you want.
Completely agree. I think that is kind of what we're walking into. We've got a small update here for that Greek God of War rumored game. So Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb mentioned during a recent Last of the Nintendogs podcast that he's heard the game is indeed pushed internally to 2026. I think we all kind of came to that conclusion prior, but that's at least what Jeff has heard about the game. So, this thing is supposed to be like a smaller scale 2.5D Metroidvania style game. Perhaps they are indeed giving the game some time to add some voice acting, maybe get TC Carson back in that role. If that is what they're doing, I am all for it. 100%.
I don't know. This is one of those things where it's like the rumor got out there and then all of a sudden it's delayed when it's not announced. And it's like, I
think there's enough. I think there's enough here now.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. They think it's still coming out like next year now is the idea, 2026 release. They could still drop the announcement before the end of the year. It could be a Jeff Keighley thing.
I think they announce it and like they're already ready to like say, oh, it's coming out X, Y, and Z date or something like that,
Release date ready to go and everything. Like here it is. It's coming out February or something or March.
Yeah, it's this ain't like a Yotei. This is like a Lego Horizon. Maybe they show it off one or two times. Second or third time, it's like, oh, it's coming out in a month or some shit like that.
Yep, that would make sense. That would make sense. I mean, I'm excited for it. Whenever it does get shown and stuff, I'm hoping it is different look, interesting look for Kratos, and they play around with some of the gameplay elements, make it just feel different in general. So
for sure.
What do you think about you think that's just PlayStation only day one, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen people discuss the theory of like, could this be a Switch game?
You don't think they're on the Switch 2 at launch as well? Because it's not necessarily. It is lined up as a game that probably would do well on the Switch 2 because on the Nintendo platform, you have 2D games like, for example, Metroid Dread that sold more than 3 million copies. I don't know. 2D games, typically we see them come out, and Prince of Persia was one, right? That was a big multi-platform game. We hear it sold like 1.5 million copies or something. They're really excited about that. It does make you wonder, though, if Sony goes, would this be a good idea? Because Lego Horizon stuff, I know it's Lego in them, but Guerrilla was saying that it's kind of like their decision to be able to do that as well with Sony. It makes me wonder if they would look at that as almost a gateway for Switch 2 owners to find their way over to the God of War franchise that exists specifically on the PlayStation.
I know it's tough to say. It really is, because I see it going both ways. The thing I'm looking at right now, because we had just gotten the slide from the business segment briefing, which I swear we'll get to in a little bit here. But the one slide was tracking the record of growing game IP into franchises. So they give a breakdown of all their IP, right? Horizon's actually on the bottom. It's still, relative to a lot of the games here, it's still big. That's why it's in the slide. But the Horizon franchise is towards the bottom with all the included entries. Then Uncharted, then The Last of Us, then Destiny, Spider-Man, Gran Turismo, MLB The Show. So it's huge. Yeah,
I can see that.
And then number one is God of War. This is PlayStation's like track record of growing game IP and franchises with potential to grow into enduring franchises. God of War is listed as their biggest property. Yep. So, here's the thing. Does that telegraph the idea that, yeah, we're willing to put a very different kind of God of War on a competing platform or a semi-competitor to a degree, but you know what I mean? Do we do that? Or do we keep this close to our chest and God of War stays on PlayStation and eventually PC, obviously? But I don't know.
It's hard to say. It is. That's a tough decision to make. I mean, you assume they would make more money by also putting it on the Switch too, especially if you get it out in its launch year where people are just constantly looking for things to buy for the system. But then also, oh, this is a Sony game on it. Oh, well, I'm going to buy it on the Switch too. that kind of, if you have one, you're like, that kind of thought process. But that's tough. Because would you look at a 2D God of War game as a system seller for Sony?
Not a system seller, no. But let's say the game's good, right? I think it looks very attractive in the sense of like an Astrobot, where it feels very refreshing and different, and something that catches a lot of people off guard, and you realize, oh man, this thing's really good. The thing is, like, if this did come to, like, let's say Switch 2, and they were able to get this thing out by, let's say, like the first quarter of 2026, I feel like that would be a really nice proposition to a new Switch 2 owner. Yeah, this new system. It's kind of this, I don't want to call it a drought, but like right now, the damn thing is basically a Mario Kart World machine. Mario Kart World. It's going to be DK Bonanza soon, but I don't know. I think you ship something like a God of War game on there, and it's really good. And, it's not eating into the sort of mainline series that PlayStation is known for. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they did that and it ended up doing gangbusters.
Yeah, because you assume at this point you would get a God of War game or some bigger release kind of, right? It's a God of War game from Sony before the big 3D Mario, the big 3D Zelda, and Animal Crossing. Something that's like huge for Nintendo even shows up. You come in with God of War in the first year of the system, they probably would sell, legitimately a couple million copies.
I think so. It's got more appeal than like the Lego Horizon game. And yeah, by a mile. Like it's not even close. So I don't know. They could definitely do that for sure.
It's something to consider.
Next up, we have the marathon delay. So this was just a few days after Sony reaffirmed a fiscal year 2025 release, but Bungie did post an update on their site confirming that after alpha playtests, they've decided to delay the game indefinitely. They say over the next few months, they'll continue closed testing, and their immediate focus areas are upping the survival game with more challenging AI encounters. They're also going to do more rewarding runs, making combat more tense and strategic. They're also doubling down on the universe with increased visual fidelity, more narrative and environmental storytelling, and a darker tone. Plus, they'll add more social experiences, including a better experience for solos and duos, and adding proximity chat. I'm not surprised. I don't think many people are, but
yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's no way this game was coming out in September. Come on now.
Is it not the right move though? I mean, if you're committed to it, pull it back and address the problems. It's not like we don't have success stories. Now, is this game in a position where it can have one? I don't know, but it can happen.
The problem is so we talk about Sony success stories, and it's like, well, if they can miss a bunch of live service games and they hit a couple and they'll be fine. I don't think Bungie can miss this one. Yeah, I have actual concerns about that.
For Bungie in particular, well, that's what we're hearing, right? Is a lot of the staff are like concerned if this thing doesn't work out for them.
Well, they had Gummy Bears. That's with Sony now, right? That was pulled away from Bungie and brought internal to Sony, right? They made the LFG studio.
Well, pulled away in the sense that, like, I believe the staff that were working on it just got spun off into a different studio. So it might be more semantics at that point, but now it's properly under PlayStation Studios with that staff.
Right, but it's not like the people at Bungie or the person, we'll say a couple of people at the top who are running things aren't like, oh, okay, well, we still have Gummy Bears here that we're working on. It's like, no, that's with Sony now. Like they spun off the studio. They work at office or building number 3 or something now, not here. So right. That's what I mean, though. It's like they don't really have much else going on other than Marathon that we know about. And it feels like they kind of need this to work, or I don't know what happens I don't know what you do with Bungie. I don't know. I'm not the person making decisions. I'm not smart enough to know how all that would even work out. I would have serious concerns though, because Destiny 2 isn't, it's continuing on, but it's not like a brand new game is right around the corner. Like Destiny 3 is coming. It's like, no, this is kind of it. This is what we have.
This is it. You think this is the right move though? I mean, is this not what you do?
Oh, you can't put the game out. No. There's definitely no way you can put it out right now. I mean, even just with the art scandal aside, like the plagiarism stuff, which is a huge stain and mark on the release as it is online and the perception of the game, it just didn't seem like they had a lot to offer at launch for this title. So to me, with a live service game right now in this day and age, you need to show up to the table with an overwhelming amount of content. Like you have to have stuff happening constantly, and you can break it up, but a lot of times they'll do these seasonal releases every 3 or 4 months. Something new will happen. It's like maybe you spread that out, and every week something new happens. It doesn't even be massive, but like every week you get something else that happens rather than, hey, we're going to drop in these huge blocks of stuff. I feel like
sounds so overwhelming.
See, but then you're always the idea is to always think about these live service games. It's like, you stick with us. We'll do stuff. We'll keep you guys engaged. And it's like every 3 months, we'll give you something new. Man, things move so quickly. Games come out constantly. Who knows that person's still going to be there in 3 months if you're waiting that long.
But it doesn't seem like content's the issue, though. The issue is everything they just listed off. You know,
well,
like the core experience, I think, needs some work first.
Well, that's what they say. But if you look online, there's so many people wondering, okay, there's only a couple of maps. They're big maps, but they're like, there's a couple of maps there, I guess. And then you guys said you were writing the story still? Well, the game's out in September, but you're still writing it right now. So I don't know. The game just, it could not come out September. I don't know when it's coming out. I hate to say give it a year delay because I don't think it can do that. Maybe it's March or April now instead. Maybe.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, you can't make a radical change. You sort of have to refine what you already have, though, too. So I feel like when it comes back, like, it's still going to be what it is. So
it's not changing. Yeah, no, it's not changing.
I'm not sure how much you can reasonably add in that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, you see people who go put a single player campaign in there because that's what Marathon used to be. It's like that's not happening. This is what it is. This is it. It's multiplayer.
I don't know. That last line makes sense though, including a better experience for solos and duos. That seemed to be a pretty big complaint. And then the proximity chat was, that was weird too, wasn't it?
I don't know what the proximity chat thing was about. What was that? Like you feel like in an extraction shooter where you're going to run into other parties of people. And if maybe you want to coordinate with them, maybe you don't want to just gun them down immediately. You're like, hey, let's work together because there is this big super boss that we already ran into that was really strong, but maybe if we had another 3 people with us, we could take it down. You kind of need proximity chat to formulate that. Otherwise, you guys are going to look blankly at each other for 30 seconds and then somebody fires and it's over. Everyone's just fighting then. It seems weird. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on with this. I still find it puzzling that there's no element of PvE. And it's like, I don't think there's enough time to add that either,
They have, so when you're in the game, they have enemies that you'll fight. But at the same time, you have, players running around the world too. But you mean like if you went in and it was just computer controlled enemies that you fight?
Well, there's the goal is something against the environment, which in that case would be obviously NPCs, but there would not be a scenario where your goal is fighting another human enemy,
Okay. Got it. I mean, that is stuff they can do. That the thing is, they're launching in Marathon as a platform, and it's like, hey, we're going to add on as we go along. But the question becomes, will they have enough runway and enough time to get it done before people go off into what's becoming more and more of a competitive space than it was maybe a year or two ago, with things like arc raiders popping up that people were falling over themselves to talk about whenever this game came up. So, extraction shooter, I just don't think the pie is big enough for a bunch of games to exist in that space anyway.
Probably not. It's tough to say, but like, oh man, this just needs to be a different game.
It kind of does, but then they're sort of locked in when they made that decision. Again, probably years ago when one of them was like, oh wow, Escape from Tarkov is interesting. Let's modernize this a bit. And then it took them 5 years to do it or something.
Well, that's the other issue with making a bet 5 years ago. It's going to take 5 years to bear the fruit, or in this case, fruit that's maybe not all that ripe. Sad days.
Yeah, that's tough.
John, did you forget about Midnight Murder Club? I'm sure a lot of people did.
Yeah.
The game was in early access. It's got a confirmed release date, August 14th for PS5 and PC. So there you go. They're adding PvE content to this game when it launches.
Okay.
And it's going to cost $19.99. And I think it might be a plus game.
That'd be cool. Okay.
Because it has a peak player count of like 178 on Steam.
Well,
which is bad.
That's gonna be tough to fill up some rooms. Yes.
Yeah. As a reminder, we're talking about this game because PlayStation is publishing it. So they're publishing it on PS5 and PC. This is the same studio as the one that made Knockout City as well. So
what are reviews looking like?
I don't think there are any.
Oh man, not even a review.
I don't know. I could have checked, but
I'll look right now.
Okay, you do that, John. Steam. I feel like very few people realize like, oh, this is a game that's coming and PlayStation's publishing it.
It's mostly positive.
It looks fun. I mean, have I played it? No, but it looks fun. It looks goofy. The studio seems good too. I mean, people like Knockout City, but that's another game that failed.
I actually enjoyed that game. That game was kind of fun. It's just they didn't. Again, the problem, they didn't really have a lot going on there after they released it. They did it like, I think, one season, and then it took them a while to get the next one, and then it didn't land, and that was it.
And I'm going to make a John comment, which is something John has said before. What's the problem with just putting the game out there? Why does it need new content? Why couldn't they just leave it out there?
Just put it out there. Sell it. Just sell it. Just say, hey, this is what it is. It's $20.
Well, Knockout City, I think it has there's a private community. They restored it on PC. So like, it's that like snapshot of the game that's kind of what we were just proposing. Like it does happen after the fact with a community, but it seems like officially, no, there's always this pressure to keep making new content.
It was a unique idea. It was. And that's the thing, when you get stuck in and you have to keep making new content, then you don't make a Destiny 3. You don't make a follow-up because you're stuck always working on that one. And that's kind of the problem. You don't know where to end it and where to move development that's going to take 5 years after that. Like, when do you move on to it?
That is the question.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of ideas that you may have for the sequel end up just going into the one you're doing now, like you're supporting. So it's tough.
Very tough. It's not tough though. Sony has lifted the regional restrictions on some of their games on Steam. So right now, and I think they might have done more games since I put this news down, but God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Spider-Man 2, and Helldivers 2 are showing recent changes on their Steam database listing, where indeed the restrictions are lifted. You can buy these games in the 130, 170-something countries that were initially barred. This might have been a direct response from Stellar Blade, actually, since Shift Up said they were working with Sony to try and get the game available to more buyers. And maybe that's what happened, which is, it's weird that it maybe took a Stellar Blade to come in, but obviously that game is doing really well on PC. I mean, it's sold insanely well, and they published on PC for that game too. So perhaps they're finally wisening up and taking off the restrictions for their other games as well.
May as well. I mean, I don't really know what the point of like them being there in the first place was. I guess just because where PlayStation Plus is available, where it's not.
Yeah, like I don't think anyone has a direct answer, but it's like, it's not where PSN officially operates. They have no way to collect local currency there because they're not officially like incorporated there. So I honestly, I don't know. I think it's just weird how you're entering a global marketplace and you're not going to sell your game globally. It may, even if it's like, oh, it only represents 5% of buyers. Like, okay, well, fine, but like, you're going to say no to money? Do you want to say you have the bad press too? Like, I don't know. It seems silly.
Well, at least seems like they're opening it up, lifting restrictions, and seems like it's working. Stellar Blade, especially.
No doubt, the game's doing very well. But I think they got to remove the restrictions for all the other ones. I think only those 4 games are removed right now. Next up, Sony Interactive Entertainment has developed a new PlayStation VR 2 game. Can you believe that, John? A new PSVR 2 game from Sony. So this was developed by SIE and in collaboration with the United Nations Playing for the Planet Alliance. Climate Station is a new sort of interactive simulator that you can explore and look at. It's this big globe, and you can see different climate events, and you can zoom in and see weather formations and patterns and time lapses. It's a really cool little interactive climate a climate client app that you can look at, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. It's out right now, PS5 and PSVR 2, and it's pretty. That's John. That's pretty neat.
It's free.
Pretty. It's free. Yeah, it's free. No trophies. Just a kind of. It's definitely more of a interactive application. Not really a game per se, but Does remind me a lot of life with PlayStation and folding at home back in the PS3 days.
I was gonna say, yeah,
kind of reads like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's free, so it's like, what? I'm not gonna sit here and bash it, like criticize the thing and be like, "Oh, terrible." No, it's free. It's free. Even though it's just a globe, I guess you're gonna look at it. That's cool.
Well, yeah, well, John, I mean, it's just that's just a globe you can look at. You can learn too. You can learn.
Got it.
You remember that, right? Learning.
Yeah. Those are the good days.
I did
turn my PS5 on all the time for.
Oh shit! I did play around with it a little bit. It is cool. It's definitely neat. Yeah, I like it.
Is it just you just have a globe in front of you, you spin it around?
Well, initially it sort of like walks you through it. It's got like, it kind of does like the sort of slow Nintendo creep in of like all these prompts and things, and it's got a voiceover explaining things to you. But it's definitely cool. If you got time to kill, I'd say download it. It does look really neat in PSVR 2. We do have some not so good news for PSVR 2 though. So Beat Saber is closing down support for that version of the game. So Beat Games announced that effective immediately, the PSVR and VR2 versions of Beat Saber will no longer receive new content or updates. The game is still going to work, and you can still buy it, I believe. And you can still use your purchase songs, but multiplayer is going to be offline on January 21st, 2026. Now, this is a big deal because this is like one of the best performing VR games out there. Like it's like a quintessential pick it up. Like it's something that a lot of VR owners eventually get and play with. And what's more notable too is that like the PC version, a lot of people just play custom songs. You know what I mean? Like they don't even like. I mean, I'm not Meta. I don't have their because they're owned by Meta. I don't have their telemetry, so I don't know if they're actually selling music over there or not. But it seems like people keep saying nobody buys music over there, but on PlayStation, where it's a more official closed storefront, like and there's no mods, like everyone plays or pays for the songs on PSVR 2. So I don't know. It seems kind of weird, right? Very suspicious that the Meta-owned developer is closing down support for this game out of nowhere on for a version of the game that arguably is maybe the only one you're selling songs to. I don't know. Doesn't look not a good look for PSVR 2.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I saw that. I said, okay, is that just showing how poor PSVR is doing with in general? If Beat Saber's like, I think we're good to do it with support for this thing, or is it Meta like to kind of see that as a competitor? Let's get this out of here because they've been supporting it for a while now. So,
and it was after the acquisition, I think too. Like they still did a PSVR 2 version after. I don't know. It's hard to read it. I would think like there's still reason to support the PSVR 2 version. I know it looks like a sort of, it's like a dead headset and maybe that's why they're killing support. But we've seen not just a handful of developer accounts of, hey, my game sold better on PSVR 2. Doesn't matter about the big install base on MetaQuest. If the platform has more engaged users, that's where you sell the games to. So I don't know, man. I mean, I look at that, I think maybe that's Meta.
It might be. We don't really. The thing is, we don't, like I said, we don't have the stats necessarily in front of us to see if it really was performing poorly or does Meta's think. Although then they would feel like they're still going to sell it, so you feel like they'd keep updating it because it's more money for them to get. If they were just pulling it completely, hey, this isn't for sale anymore, then yes, then I'd be like, okay, hold on a minute, what's going on here with Meta? But I don't know. I mean, the obvious conclusion that people came to was that no one's really playing it on PSVR 2.
That's a solid point. Yeah, you're right. They are still selling it. They're not delisting it. That was a weird one. Big blow to PSVR 2 for sure. And that headset does not need things like that going on.
No, I never really see Sony talk about it as much either. So it's
right when they announce a bunch of PSVR 2 things.
Yeah.
They just made a bunch of VR 2 announcements like on, what was it, Monday or something?
You just don't really see it thrown around much.
What do you mean? They just did a bunch on Monday.
I mean, when have you seen a lot of people talk about it on social media or anything?
Okay, well, you can't throw it back at people. You just said Sony doesn't talk a lot about it.
Well, you said there's a lot of engaged users for this thing. There could potentially be engaged users on the platform.
Well, they do, but the problem is there's still a minority of users. Nobody here is saying that the headset's selling well. It's definitely not selling well at all. but it's kind of like, it reminds me of a PS Vita situation.
Mhm.
You know, Vita did terrible. It was a commercial failure. But oddly enough, like plenty of indie games came to it well into 2015, 16, even 17, I think. And they were like indie devs were still making money because, you know, their overhead was low. So they may not have, they didn't need to sell a lot, but still like they could make money on it. I feel like VR2 is kind of maybe in the same spot, you know.
The latest update on incoming PSVR 2 titles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Grit and Valor. There you go. 1949.
See, I almost wrote that down as a story.
This person says a huge waste of time. Only game looks good as Dreams of Another. Immediate response. Gosh.
See, that might actually just be a VR2 owner too. Just like, this shit sucks.
Mark, this one person says, what about first party titles? Man.
Climate Station.
Some people are saying Meteor looks good. See, there you go.
Yeah. Come on, John. You got to give VR2 more credit than that. Or game announcements, rather. Definitely some game announcements still.
There you
go. Yeah, we had Thief VR show up in that recent State of Play. Come on now.
Yeah, Deadpool showed up. That was really cool.
That's for MetaQuest only.
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing with it. the one that people were like real excited for. Like, oh, snap, Deadpool. And it was like VR. I was like, okay. And then it was like Oculus. It's like, why isn't that Sony? Or the Batman game. The Batman game was crazy that Sony didn't get that.
They just can't catch a break, can they?
To me, it does look kind of, so it does sort of look like Meta is taking it more seriously than Sony. And that makes sense because that's like Quest 3 is their like flagship device at this point with this. Whereas PSVR 2 is attached to a PS5. That's the flagship system. But man, Meta, it feels like, so all these announcements from Sony for these VR games, it's just, they just don't stand up to something like a Deadpool or a Batman. Just, you know, but you going to be able to.
Games are games, you know.
Games no, they are.
Thing is, Meta's been burning a shitload of money on on the Quest and their VR program.
They have. Right.
I will say this time and time again. This is the hill I'll die on. PSVR 2 has a VR problem. It does not have other problems people associated with. Sure, it obviously would help if it was cheaper, not tied to a PS5, if it had first-party support. But I think you do all those things, and ain't going to save it. I'm sorry. It's not
VR. VR needs to get needs to advance a bit.
It's a VR problem. Let's move on to the 2025 business segment briefing. So this is our yearly time during the PlayStation, during the business where they outline a number of things and they're speaking directly to investors. But, the gamers can look at this information too on their investor relations portal. So it's a pretty lengthy live stream. We got a bunch of slides here, some factoids to go over for the games and network services segment. So I pulled out the ones that are really the most pertinent here to discuss. With the live service segment, this has not changed at all. Not only are they still committed, but one slide did show us that things have not changed at all as far as revenue. Half of all revenue, John, 53% during fiscal year 24 was from live service games like your Roblox, Call of Duty, NBA, Fortnite, GTA 5, Genshin Impact. The other 47% was 12,000 games. So 12,000 like a la carte just on the PS Store you can buy. That's 47% of revenue. The other 53 is like a handful of games, which is not much different from fiscal year 23 and 22. It's actually been stagnant, to be fair. It's been around 52, 53, back to 53. So, but it's half, which kind of alarming.
It's a lot. This is a lot. It shows why, because the other big publishers, they all have this information, why these live service games kept coming out, even though we would all look at them and be like, that's probably not going to work. And then the market respond in that way. It always falls back to these almost classic titles at this point, as you just labeled. Fortnite's, Call of Duty's, Roblox at this point, Grand Theft Auto 5. Games have just been there since the big live service boom, and they really haven't been moved off that top, like that peak since. So it's just that part you mentioned is stagnant. It is, because it's the same games.
It is. It's the same games. Well, it's, I guess the way to look at it though is that the amount of games has that's increasing. Like I think the slide showed it was like 8,000 in 2022, 10,000 23. Now we're up to 12,000 games. Like 2,000 games a year come out, and they're not even making a dent into the live service like revenue split.
Is it? Do you think because it's the same games over and over again, right? And they're sucking up a ton of money
and time
time. When do we start asking the question of, are these live service games actually damaging the gaming ecosystem?
I think we've been asking that.
Like, really, let we really think about this. For like, one, it's pulled attention from a lot of these big publishers, right? Sony, clearly, they're really trying to make something work here. But then even Sega has become enamored. Square Enix, companies that even kind of Capcom, you look at them and go, they would have spent a lot of time making more traditional a la carte sale games that aren't feeling like they have to be always connected, always having content thrown at it, and never making a sequel or something else to it, right? Never building on that outside of the walls of that one specific game. And it's just, you're right, the time metric is a big factor, especially when you think about greenlighting a game that might be a little controversial, maybe goes against the grain. As Kojima can get away with it because he's Kojima, and he can be like, these people are having too much fun in their play test. We got to mess this up. Okay, let's change something. A lot of them can't do that. They will go for the safe, like throw numbers up so they're excited because they're leveling up, or let's go with a tried and true action RPG or something. So you start wondering about that. You're like, when you see that number on what is like the most popular platform when it comes to especially third-party sales, so it's a great metric. It's like, wow, more than half are just these live service games. That's crazy. And then the other 12,000 games account for the 48% outside of that.
Yeah. Don't look good, John. Don't look good. The thing I think about a lot is definitely like the time it steals from the market. Not even so much money. Money plays a big role, of course. They're all driven by money, but it's like, it's time. That's why it's like, it's like, there's like all these like big games that are coming out and they're underperforming. They're not finding an audience. And I mean, like just your standard smaller games, single player titles, all this stuff is coming out and underperforming because they're suffocated by the lack of time. Whether people are spending time on these games, they're also spending time outside of these games. They're on TikTok, they're on YouTube. It eats a lot of time out of people's lives, and they're not willing to sit down and boot up the latest Life is Strange or something that Ubisoft's putting out. It's tough to break in.
It's kind of a shame. What that ends up doing is it eliminates that category of games where it's not a perfect game, but it has an interesting idea or mechanic, and it's still fun. But it falls in that category of that 7 out of 10. Do you know, like that? Just a okay, fine game. It might not be full priced, but it's just out there, and it's almost like now you have to be almost game of the year candidate material for people to be like, maybe I will try that tonight instead of Fortnite. It almost feels like that's where you have to land. You have to be a Claire Obscure that comes out of nowhere and is like 93 on Metacritic. It's like, well, I guess I'll check this out because it's more than a 90. It's like, man, that's where we are.
You're 100% right. You could play 9s and 10s all day and probably not run out of things to play.
Yeah.
How could you possibly set aside time for like a 7? I think that's where a lot of people are. Unless they like show up on Plus or something,
I will say some of the pricing, around these games where games show up and they're just $70 and soon enough $80, and then the review comes out and it is a 7 out of 10. You're like, I can wait.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
But these live service games, man, you see why Sony is so gung ho, all out about running into the wall face first over and over again until something works if they need to. They see this money coming through.
Yeah. If this doesn't change, they're not going to stop pursuing it. Unfortunately, that's kind of the reality we live in. Something else we saw during the briefing, though, is that we're hearing some more PS Plus stats separate from the thing we heard with Steven Totillo. So we know that with PS Plus Premium, the breakdown of total subscriptions It was 19%. It went up to 22%. So in total, 38% of total subscribers are either on extra or premium. So again, there's a lot of people are jumping into the higher tiers. Extra stayed stagnant. Extra was like 16%. I think it's still that, but premium went from 19 to 22.
Do you think, I think it's likely that people go from essential to extra, right? They're presented with the option of, do you want, to get these extra games and stuff? I almost wonder if people, instead of jumping from essential to extra, kind of the idea of stepping up, if they just go right from essential to premium.
I think they do. I think that, I think that might have been the case with the relaunch because the price difference was $100 a year for extra or $120. It's like, I think a lot of people are like, fuck it, another $20, Now the difference is a little bigger, but that might just be like people that are staying on premium, or if they had extra previously, that, prorate to convert that to premium based on the length of their subscription. That might be an easier pill to swallow too, to go from extra to premium.
That's true. Especially if you get that one or two classic games that gets dropped in, you're like, I'll check this out, but I'm not going to buy it. I'll go up a tier and I'll get whatever else is there too.
That Portal, the Portal cloud streaming beta might have also been a good conversion for them too, because that was locked behind premium. Under the studios segment, we did get a breakdown of all the PlayStation studios. Nothing too alarming here, but we do have our two new studios. So Team LFG, unsurprising, but they are listed as live service. Dark Outlaw Games, however, from Jason Blundell, their team, where they have not even a formal announcement. We saw them get revealed during Jeff Gersman's podcast, but they are listed as Evolving Multi-Genre. And that stood out to me. We don't really know what that game is at all. I mean, there's certainly theories, but Evolving Multi-Genre puts it next to like Media Molecule. Blue Point's still in there, which is kind of odd, but because we know their game's canceled. But Guerrilla's in there too, which Guerrilla I think is probably the best litmus test here of they do single player. We know a multiplayer game's coming as well. Bend is still in there, and then Polyphony as well, which Polyphony also makes sense because in a weird way, I think you could put them under the live service segment, and that still makes sense. But
yeah, they make like a CarPG.
Sure, that'd be a good way to put it. But Dark Outlaw is Evolving Multi-Genre.
Well, it's Jason Blundell. You feel like it's a shooter.
You'd think.
Right?
You'd think.
So I almost wonder if it's shooter, live service, RPG style game.
I'm thinking single player title that can be played co-op.
I like that. Okay. Interesting.
Yep. Co-op PvE elements.
So like Army of Two?
Sure. Could be an Army of Two.
Okay.
Could be an Army of Four.
Okay. Yeah. I like the idea of that, because I know that's the easy way, I'm sure, still to get greenlit within Sony is we got an idea for this live service thing. I like the idea of that though, being like a co-op experience with shooting elements, mechanics and stuff. It just, I feel like because he left with Deviation and stuff and that fell through. I mean, it's maybe they're trying to make Call of Duty, but it feels like it's not easy to make a Call of Duty. So what if you do rein it in a bit, be a bit more focused about what you want to do? And okay, there you go. Co-op shooter. I like it.
With a campaign. I don't know. That's my guess. Okay. So we got the studio segment for live service games. They did say Marathon is still listed as fiscal year 25, which the really important context is that the business segment briefing happened before the Marathon delay. But also important to mention, fiscal year 25 runs to the end of the end of April for 2026. So technically, I mean, maybe they could still get the game out before
first quarter, maybe, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like that delay definitely reads as like it's out of fiscal year 25. But Marathon was on there, and then Fair Games is just listed as Beyond. It's just Beyond.
Oh my gosh!
We don't know when that's
dude.
We don't know when that's coming out. The slide after that did show some metrics for Helldivers 2, though. They've had 3.4 million MAUs recently.
Wow.
Trying to figure out the exact month on that. It's the next slide after this. Come on. That was March 31st, 2025. 3.6 million MAUs. And they said most of those were on PC as well.
Man.
Yeah, it's a lot of Helldivers out there. A lot of bugs getting squashed. A lot of are the automatons still in the game? Is out now? I don't know.
I haven't played in a while, but
Yeah,
hey, good for Arrowhead.
Good for Arrowhead. The really juicy bit though, John, was the fireside chat portion. Now this also important to mention, like the context here, right, is very much it's very controlled. This is a Sony interview that they made for their investors.
They picked the questions. Yeah.
They picked the questions, but that's what's crazy is that they pick these questions, and I think these are kind of fucking batshit insane. So it was a chat between Herman Hulst, Hideaki Nishino, and Lynn Azar. Right off rip, they were asked about cloud streaming and if they even need a next generation console. Hideaki gave an answer here. He said cloud gaming is, and I'm going to paraphrase all this shit because there's a lot to go through. Hideaki said cloud gaming is part of the model, but the future platform, or rather the future of the platform, is top of mind, aka PlayStation 6.
Okay, so that's a question of, do you need a console because cloud gaming is there and you can use that? That sounds to me like somebody who invests in the company but doesn't play a video game now, like doesn't play any. Come on, we all know that you can't have an entire platform on cloud right now. It's just not there, like, obviously. So that to me, that's a softball question, because it's like they're trying to say they're trying to be nice about it and not call the person kind of stupid, but it's I mean, that the idea basically is like, hey, can you just be Stadia next generation and not do a PS6? Like, no, there's going to be a PS6.
It's the thing is, John, I would argue too, like they knew that this was going to make headlines. And I think it was a very appropriate sort of question to ask themselves, fully knowing that we're going to be acknowledging our next platform and we're going to be acknowledging that, hey, it's not just cloud. Yeah. I think it was a pretty, again, controlled answer, but at least one where they get to say, hey, like, we're thinking about it.
You ask about the PS3, though. You just wait till next gen cloud with that. 20 frames a second coming up on that one.
We have that right now, buddy.
Yeah. But in 8K now, upscaled from 720p.
The hell is this guy smoking? All right. They were also asked about Microsoft moving away from the console. Just straight up. How do you feel about that, huh? Microsoft's moving away. What does that mean for PlayStation? I think Hideaki also answered this one. He just said, like, oh yeah, that's good for them. Competition's good. We're going to keep doing the console. And they basically just reaffirmed that, like, that's fine for them. We're going to keep doing our own thing.
It's funny because the investors and stuff, all they do is they see the R&D and stuff that goes into making a system and a new platform, and it's expensive. It costs a lot of money. So I almost wonder in their mind if they're like, how do we not make that and spend all that money, but then still also have a platform? Cloud, obviously. Look, Microsoft's not going to. They're moving away from it. They're probably going to sell like 10 million systems next. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to make all these systems and sell them? It's the investor mind. Probably it just works so different from people who are like, we wouldn't ask these questions. We'd be like, hey, you guys not going to make a PS6? It's like,
I don't know. It's still so particular though. It's funny how it's like a direct acknowledgement of like, hey, your closest competitor is like really kind of veering off though. I mean, it is a fair question. At least as far as like they're going off of like they're doing something way different.
Yeah,
which they kind of are. They kind of
no, they're pointing out, they're like, hey, they could become disruptive if it works for them. That could be a problem.
Yeah,
what's the plan? They're like, well, the plan's PS6. All right, that's it. I mean, hey, look, we make a system, we sell a lot of them. We're gonna do it again.
The next question was: are handhelds a part of their next gen strategy?
Good question.
And Hideaki talked about the Portal.
Bad answer.
Yeah, he definitely didn't give anything away here, but he's just talking about, oh, we're doing the Portal. It did better than our expectations. The things we've heard before about the Portal, like people play it well into the night. People, like, it's a great extension device. So I think it was still a very particular thing to include. I'm sure somebody had the foresight to ask about that with how many portable PCs and Switch 2 are doing. Somebody also asked about Switch 2. I didn't put that in here, but it's the same thing. Like, people are asking about these things, and Sony has to try and give an answer here without telegraphing their strategy. Herman Hulst also was talking about first-party games, and one thing he clarified is that right now they're focusing on releasing one major tentpole title per year. One major tentpole title. That definitely caused a little bit of, I don't know if controversy is the right word, but highlighting the issue of like their output nowadays. I think it's noteworthy to mention that they say one major game. Like this year, we've got two technically, if you count DS2, with that being externally produced by Kojima Productions. That's considered a PS Studio title. Holistically, when you sort of lump everything together, the big and small, they obviously do more than one. But if we're talking about like the next Naughty Dog thing, the next Housemarque and Sucker Punch and Ben, like I think, about one is what they can do.
Yeah, Death Stranding 2 is kind of interesting because that XDev, of course, worked with them on that too. Nintendo's in the credits, strangely. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's a funny collaboration of studios and companies apparently for that game and how it all worked out. But the tentpole game thing, you're right, that did make waves online. People were like, one. I think you also back up and be like, okay, what do they consider a tentpole game? I consider a tentpole game a system seller, a game that they think they put up with the marketing and it's going to sell a PlayStation 5 outright. It's like you need the system for this game specifically, and you want the game, so we get the system. That doesn't mean that. Would you consider Astrobot a tentpole game?
No, I wouldn't.
There you go.
There you go. In fact, it like the last business segment briefing, they had that breakdown of like funds allocation and the like a tentpole game is at the very top. That's from established studios. The middle is live service experimental, and then the bottom one was like very, very experimental, disciplined budget kind of games. And pretty sure that's where Astrobot is.
But Astrobot got so much praise, one game of the year to Sony, that probably, that is worth a lot. Is that prestige level for PlayStation Studios. So that's why they probably do hold it in high regard. And it's continued to get updates as they've gone. So it is an important IP to them. That's the big thing here, right? It's just building up the character, the Astro brand, everything for several generations now going forward, because it's worked. But the tentpole game, you have one and then you set it up for the holiday season. That seems like a strategy they've been doing, and it's worked. But the problem is we had that said with the output that they've had this generation. A lot of people look at first party wise specifically, not like, oh, we're going to partner with studios. It is less than we've had in previous generations, as people are kind of, they do the lists and they're like, look at these, here's all the PS3 exclusives, the PS4 exclusives, whatever. Here's the PS5 exclusives, right? So I get that. When you count cross gen, it does, like, you do start crossing a lot of them off the board. I see it. But I think that's why it got so much attention and so much, it caused a lot of fallout on social media when they said that. But it kind of lines up with how they consider a tentpole game, and the fact that they have other smaller titles that accompany these tentpole games throughout the year.
Right. Yeah, well, it's like if you look at last year, like you had Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin right there, but I would think that's not considered. Those two are not in the tentpole major game that they consider it.
Right.
I'm saying it kind of gets into the whole list war thing, as you alluded to. Like some people want to exclude certain games for certain reasons, just to sort of fit whatever sort of point they're trying to make, which is fair depending on how you want to look at these games. It's just if we do think about what they consider a major tentpole game that takes like 7+ years to make nowadays, I don't know how they do more than one of those. Unless you're a Microsoft where you own 30 studios, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, their output is it's starting to really spin up to where it's like, whoa, okay, hold on a minute. That's a lot. And now they're dropping a lot of stuff on PlayStation as well. So it's pretty obvious that they have a large number of studios that are just churning right now for Microsoft. And with Sony, we know the live service stuff set them back a bit. canceled projects, the whole thing.
Yep.
So they're kind of recouping right now. And you know what? I think that's also, Ryan, why the mention of next generation was kind of like, whoa, hold on. PSX, that got some responses online too. And I will say it does feel like we're running out of time right now for these games to not just be cross-gen at this point.
Yeah, but they're going to be,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a very tough expectation shift with PlayStation 6. Maybe it might even have that sort of pressure of like, you definitely do not need to buy this. Like, buy it when you feel like you're ready to, like, it's a kind of that iPhone upgrade sort of mentality. You most certainly do not need this, but if you do, you'll get the prettiest looking games.
Do you think right now that with the PS5, because this comes up all the time and it just gets exacerbated when these kind of quotes get out there, is it because people are looking for a game that is representative of the generation? Like that's that people are saying Death Stranding 2 is the first PS5 game that's come out now. Like that, that's what they're saying. Is that it? Because people look back on old generations, they immediately think of a title that they just relate to it. And like that, like was the big generational title that they have in their mind. Maybe they're still searching for it on the PS5.
Yeah. I think we've touched on this before. Like I think it's
it comes up all the time. It comes up a lot.
You know what? I don't know why though. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just insane here. Maybe I'm the one that's losing it and I'm out of touch. But I feel like Demon's Souls on day one was it. Demon's Souls looked nutty. Still looks absolutely insane. You didn't have to wait that much longer for more stuff to pop up. Rift Apart looks unbelievably gorgeous. Then even though they're cross-gen games, arguably Ragnarok and Forbidden West looked insane. Then you had Rebirth, you had Final Fantasy 16 with the epic icon fights, and those looked just nutty, melt your eyes off, blow your balls off. Those things were so insane looking. I don't know, man. I think we've been getting them. It's just diminishing returns are kind of souring the conversation. The going to PC after the fact is souring the conversation. Cross-gen soured the conversation. I think hindsight is everything. I think by the time PS6 comes around, PS5 might be seen a little bit more favorably. I'm not sure if time will be super kind to it, but when you start doing the list war things again, depending on how you frame it, PS5 looks stronger than I think some seem to give it credit for.
I do wonder if it really is just the cross-gen thing. Like if you crossed off PS4 off of a bunch of those games and it was just PS5, if the overall sentiment of this generation would be different.
Maybe. This is definitely like a thing I touched on. Like I did a whole topic on this whole video, which was how is PS5 so successful without quote true exclusives? Because if you do boil it down to, it's literally only on PS5, not even PC. That list is like almost nothing. There's like 3-4 games. I don't know. I could check. There's that many. You know what I mean? The argument I make is the games they do nowadays, they're exclusive enough. As in, it really doesn't matter that they were on PS4. It doesn't matter that they go to PC. The reality is you got a proper PlayStation 5 experience on those games, and they're exclusive enough. As in, it didn't stop people from buying PS5s, and it didn't stop people from buying the PS5 versions of those games. It was pretty damn telling that for the first 2 years of this console, where nobody could buy it because it was heavily supply constrained, that right off rip, PS5 games were selling better than PS4 counterparts. Generally. There's a few exceptions. I think the sports games were leaning more PS4. That might speak to a more casual audience that are happy to wait to buy PS5s, but
right.
I just think we hit that ceiling where graphics aren't the be all end all thing, but you got your PS5 enhancements if you bought PS5 versions. They were exclusive enough. That's the way I phrase it.
I think the PlayStation at this point is just the default system, and they're just take more money in now because things are more expensive. They have a pretty expensive subscription service now that people are gravitating towards, and the hardware is more expensive than it was with the PS4 generation. Not when the PS3 first launched, but as it went through. So just the average spend per person right now for Sony is more than it's ever been. It's just significantly, just because everything costs more, and there's microtransactions. You just mentioned 53% or 52% of everything coming in and going out of PlayStation Store is because of that. And they're collecting money on all of that. It's things they didn't have during the PS3 generation, obviously not PS2. And then it started to spin up during the PS4 generation. So it makes sense why they're making so much money now versus then. I'm going to be real curious about PS6 versus PS5, though, when we inevitably get there, what those kind of comparisons are going to look like.
For sure. I'm curious about the adoption rate for it, too. If we will see a sort of like fast transitionary period. Because PS5 actually is not that much different. Even during the supply. In fact, if it wasn't supply constrained, I'm pretty sure it probably would have, at the very minimum, matched PS4 sales pace. Right now, it's a little bit behind it. But when I say a little, I mean, I think it's like less than 2 million.
It's like 1.2 or something like that.
It's about the same. Like people are still buying PS5s, you know.
But the thing I will say with that, Ryan, is not as many people have bought Xboxes than the previous generation.
True, and that's the thing.
We've kind of shrunk a bit in the console space.
Well, that's the thing, is that you made a great point of they're the default console. Now more than ever they are. To be fair, the first 2 years, like it's not like Series X was super dead. They were moving a lot of Series S and X consoles, but now, like after those 2 years of year-over-year declines for Xbox hardware, now more than ever, it's like they are indeed the default option. Although maybe you could argue that the Xbox audience that's the audience that went to PC.
Could be that too. Could be that. Yeah. But like with consoles, last generation Xbox Series, PlayStation or Xbox One, and the PS4 combined, right around 165 million, we think, somewhere in there, in total. I just don't think we're getting there with PS5 and Xbox Series combined this generation.
No, probably not. Yeah, not with at least Microsoft's numbers.
Yeah. So that's just gonna. I feel like that's just gonna scare investors anyway, and that's who we're obviously been referencing, who they're talking to here. So maybe that's why we keep hearing about cloud and other stuff. It's like, how we're gonna get another article. We get it every generation start. Is this the end for consoles? Happens every time, you know. Another one will be written. Go ahead and pin it now. Put me down for that now. An article is going to pop up about it.
Yeah, the damn thing is that now it's like a half truth. One of them is not really making it to the other side. At least not in the way we expect. I do have that story later. We'll touch on what Microsoft's been up to. But let's move into some. Let's cool down a little bit. Get into some smaller stories again. Shift up. We did talk about Stellar Blade a little bit. They did say that for 2027, which they had that like internal slide where it showed they wanted to do that game in Projekt, which is by 2027. And that seemed like really soon. The CEO, Kim Yotei, did say they would love to release the sequel in 2027, and they'll try their best to do that. So if you're looking forward to Stellar Blade, the sequel, they're going to try and get it out by 27, which seems really soon. Not sure that's going to happen.
That's tough. That would actually surprise me if they got that done. I mean, cool if they could get that out, because we used to have sequels come out every 2 years for games back in the day. Don't see that anymore.
Yeah, that would be a 3-year gap for them since it came out in 24. And I'm also curious if they would still work with PlayStation as a partner. You know, maybe they're willing to. I mean, the thing is, they're public now. They went public and they're going on PC, and so maybe now they feel a little bit more comfortable. But for the time being, I'd still keep our eyes on Shift Up, see what they end up doing with Sony. After that, we have the Konami Press Start live stream. This was the one thing towards the end of the last Click R3 that we couldn't talk about because the show was going to show or air the following day. So now we can say that Bloober Team is doing a Silent Hill 1 remake. PS1, 1999. They are going back. They've been given the keys, John. And I think they earned those keys. Did they not?
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 was very good. I enjoyed it. The audio design was awesome. The atmosphere is good. Less is more for a lot of it because they would do things like get rid of the HUD for a while, and great game. So Silent Hill 2, though, I think is going to be a bit more challenging because play the PS1 game. A lot is left up to your imagination. So they're going to take some liberties with a lot of that game. And I'm curious how that's going to go over with I want to say the fans, but really just hardcore fans. I don't know many people who go, that Silent Hill 1 game, that was it. Do you know many people who remember that game fondly or even at all at this point?
I mean, 2 always came up. Yeah.
It was always 2.
No, you made the exact point I made. It's like when you go that far back to like a PS1 game, there's so many like if you were to remake a game that old, there's so many ways one could interpret the environment and what things are supposed to look like on modern hardware. So I'm very curious how they'll do that because I think they'll be up to more scrutiny versus 2. 2, it means it's a PS2 game. You still, for the most part, know what that thing's supposed to look like. 1 is pretty, that's a PS1 game. It's very, very polygonal.
But it'd be cool because I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't played it, obviously, and this will be the first time check it out. And the fact that they kind of they've done Silent Hill 2, they sort of have that pipeline and that communication down, I'm sure, at this point with Konami. So maybe it'll be even smoother in terms of getting it done. And then maybe it's one of those games that gets turned around faster than we're expecting.
Maybe. Or maybe they complain about their own partner again. You guys got to ask Konami.
It worked out.
Leave us alone. The other big announcement out of the Konami live stream is the MGS Delta Snake Eater online mode. It's not It's not MGO, just Fox Hunt Online. Which, so correct me, is this like a prop hunt mode? Is that what it looks like? Kind of like a camouflage hide and seek style thing?
That's what it looked like. They said it was kind of hide and seek, but there was more to it than that, and they're going to share it at a later date. So that tells me that they're going to have probably another video that they put. This is part of the marketing. Probably every month they were trying to have something. So maybe in July it'll be almost a month out then. So
I was going to say,
it looks great though.
Do you think it's like it comes out after, like it doesn't come out day one?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like it's there day one, right? Like I think it's gonna be part of the. I think it'll be on the disc and everything. It'll be part of the package.
Okay, all right. What did Sean think about that?
Oh, Sean's like he's psyched for Metal Gear Solid Delta,
but like for this mode,
kind of thinking it was gonna be just regular Metal Gear Solid 3 multiplayer. But the thing with this though is they kept mentioning Metal Gear Online, so that's the other part that makes me feel like there's more to it. And Sean loved Metal Gear Online. So he's all about this. He thinks it could be really cool, but they just didn't show us enough yet. I don't know. Is this going to be a robust mode? Is going to be a lot to it, or is it going to be a quick thing where you go into a menu, a few people drop in, and then you guys legitimately just play hide and seek for 5 minutes?
Right. Well, that's what I found interesting is that they spent a lot of time explaining to people like, yeah, MGO, we did that, but things kind of changed since then.
I feel like they can't go that crazy with it. They have to reel it in a little bit, and maybe that's kind of why they're like, hey, we know you guys like playing online with some of this stuff, but we're not building exactly that. Here's what we're doing. No,
but in a weird way, I kind of like that they did that. They went out of their way to like explain to people like things have changed since then. We can't, I don't know, maybe it's an excuse, but like it read to me as like, we're not confident that MGO in today's environment would like do well. So here's our interpretation of what we think would do well.
Yes. Well, let's think about it this way. If they did Metal Gear Online, we keep talking about these live service games. Do people want another live service game? Like, is that what people want then? Because at that point, you may have to take Konami and another team or Virtuos again, kind of pigeonhole in there for a bit, sticking it out with Metal Gear Online rather than maybe going to the first Metal Gear, Metal Gear Solid. Maybe they want to go look at, it seems like you start with Delta because you have plans, Metal Gear Solid 3, to then go in order and go up to Metal Gear Solid next.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too, John, though. Konami is very trigger happy with killing their online games.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Link it to this, link it to the game, put it on the disc, make it so it's peer-to-peer, and just let it live on like that. Again, you don't have to have a live service or everything. It's fine if that's what it is.
And you're saying the right things, and yet nobody's doing it.
I know.
Nobody's doing it. This has not happened just yet. It'll happen tomorrow, so now you know when we're filming this. But Arc System Works, they've announced a showcase. That's going to be June 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific. I imagine this news is probably already out, but they're going to be talking about Marvel Tokon. Or they'll probably have it there, which that's now a PlayStation Studios game we'll be paying attention to for the foreseeable future, but they're teasing that and some other new projects as well. So got the Arc System Works showcase coming up. This kind of came out of nowhere, John. Do you want to talk about Blood Message, that game announced by NetEase?
Yeah, what was that about?
I came out of,
I was like, that's odd.
It's kind of like Black Myth Wukong all over again, like another game out of China, announcement out of nowhere, blows up. It's got like 4 million views on YouTube in under like 5 days. Looks gorgeous, looks crazy. It's a narrative-driven linear action adventure game from NetEase's Thunderfire's 24 Entertainment Studio. This trailer just drops, looks really impressive. People are comparing it to or rather meshing it as it looks like Assassin's Creed combined with Tomb Raider, combined with some Uncharted, combined with maybe a handful of other things, but looks pretty impressive.
It does. It almost looks a little too good.
Ooh, he's saying too good. But people said that
too good?
They said that about Black Myth Wukong though too.
No, that's fair. And that game was good. But this, man, the visual style of this, it looks, we'll say it looks next gen. There you go. It looks like an actual next gen game. It looks impressive, man. It does. PC
and console, they say.
Engine 5. Yeah. I wonder when that one's coming out.
Who knows? I don't know. It might be a while for that one too.
If it's a Black Myth Wukong situation, it'll be like 4 years from now. It's
crazy. Some of these Chinese games that are getting announced and they just look insane.
Yeah,
this is why PlayStation and everyone for that matter is investing in China and South Korea and everywhere they can find talent, because they can put out something, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is a very controlled looking trailer, we'll say. So
I guess they broke it down. They said 70% were like in-game cinematics or something, and then the other 30% was like in engine or something like that. I forget what that was. Yeah.
If it's even close to that, that'd be very impressive to see.
Indeed. Next up, I thought this would be cool to go over, John. I'm sure you saw this. Sega uploaded some sales data accidentally for their games, which was pretty insane. So this showed up on their investor portal. I think they just forgot to redact all this info. We got a bunch of sales data for all these Sega games. So Persona 5 Royal and Sonic Frontiers teams. Well, it's cool. Every so often, when this happens, I love looking at these numbers, because it's easy to put it into context with other projects or even comparing them to other games, right? So Persona 5 Royal is at 7.2 million copies. So which is not the Persona is. We already knew this from 5, the base game, but we knew Persona's mainstream now, and it's because of 5. And it's also
changed up.
That's what it is. That's why they're doing all those spinoffs too. Sonic Frontiers 4.5 million.
That was a little higher than I thought. Sonic Frontiers.
You thought that was high?
It's not that. It's Sonic, but the game, remember when it came out, people were laughing at it because the pop-in was crazy, and it was like this weird Sonic game. It still had enough strength to sell 4.5 million copies. It's pretty good.
That wasn't going to stop Sonic fans. Come on now. The one that surprised me is Team Sonic Racing, 3.5.
It makes sense why they're doing Cross Worlds then, which looks like they put a lot more money into it.
I never hear about Team Sonic Racing. Am I living under a rock?
No, that just might be one of those mainstream games that people just kind of play. They buy it because of Sonic Racing, and it's not necessarily a game that gets discussed a lot online, I guess.
I guess so. You've got what do we got here? Yakuza Like a Dragon's at 2.8. That's pretty strong for Yakuza. 2.8. Yep. Sonic Superstars 2.4 million. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is at 2.1 million.
It's a good amount for that.
Yeah, excuse me. Persona 3 Reload, which it's only been out for a little bit now, 2 million copies. I'm sure that'll climb like Persona 5
over time. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a weird thing too. If you look at the Persona 5 Royal numbers, they did 1 million in fiscal year 20. Then it was under 1 million in 21. Then only 350,000 copies in fiscal year 22. And then 23, they sold 1.8 million. Jeez. Huge jump in fiscal year 23.
Well, when did
I can't remember what does that align with anything? Am I forgetting something?
Persona 5 Royal, right?
Yeah.
You said fiscal year 23?
Fiscal year 23. Something must have happened that year. I don't remember what would have happened.
It came out on the Switch.
There you go. Okay.
came out on the Switch October 2022, which that's fiscal year 23. So that would have ended at the I think their fiscal year is like end of March as well, I think. So
God, that was such a big gap from when it left PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yep, 2022.
1.8. Oh my God. Yeah, since then it's 1.8, 1.6, 1.7. Good Lord. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth did 1.6 million, and then Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name is at just under $1 million. Thought those would have done maybe a little bit better, but
they released a lot of them though. They're pretty consistent with Like a Dragon and stuff. So the one I'm curious about though is gonna be Stranger Than Heaven.
Stranger Than Paradise. Oh no, it is
the new one. Stranger Than Heaven. Yeah, because that doesn't have the Like a Dragon or Yakuza name or anything attached to it. So
yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Next up, we got small little update here for the whole Borderlands fiasco. Borderlands 470. There you go. After all that all that back and forth from Randy Pitchford, right? But the thing is, as you saw, John, though, there is if you want to spend more money on this game, you can. So there's $100 edition. There's the Super Deluxe edition for $130. And isn't there a version above that and it doesn't have the game? It's like $150 or something like that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's how it is now with these special editions. Some of them just don't even have the game. It just has all the junk that comes with it.
Yeah. But there you go, $70.
It was always going to be $70. Oh my God. It's so funny. I understand. I almost wonder, is Randy is he this smart? Is he playing 4D chess? Is he like, I'm going to get the press here. I'm going to get the eyeballs on this. People are going to lose it and think it's 80. And then we're going to show it 70. Wave of relief and excitement at a price tag that people were not happy about 4 or 5 years ago.
I think you're giving Randy Pitchford way too much credit here, John.
Seems like something a magician might pull off. Is Randy a magician?
Oh, well, he looked like one in that state of play.
Yeah. I mean, look, he doesn't technically set the price. I'm sure he can influence it at meetings and stuff, but it would be up to the publisher who would do that. Still, though, based on the fact that they have those extra editions and that they sell stuff after the initial purchase in the game, I think it was always 70.
Okay. So you thought no shot it was 80. No shot.
I wasn't expecting it to be 80. The last one was Borderlands 3 was $60.
Well, yeah, what was the last one though, John? How much?
Yeah, you're gonna go up to $20 on this thing?
How much the economy has changed since then? Come on now.
I think it was 70. I think they were aiming for 70 for a little while now.
Okay, that's fine. Next up, CD Projekt Red says they want to focus on console development first for The Witcher 4. So recently, Alex Battaglia from Digital Foundry sat down with some team members from CD Projekt Red, did a nice, big, lengthy interview, a lot of insightful stuff coming out of there. But Alex opened up initially with the recent demonstration, the tech demo they put out. Why did they choose PS5 and target 60 FPS? And they responded by saying that, yes, while they used to focus on PC first and scale down, that didn't really work out for them with Cyberpunk on PS4, as we saw, PS4 and X1. So now they've made a conscious decision of targeting console hardware first and hitting 60 FPS, and they really do want to hit that target on console. So even though that was a tech demo, a nice, very spruced up controlled vertical slice, and it wasn't representative of exactly what The Witcher 4 is going to be, they are committing to the game looking like that and it being 60 FPS on console.
It
makes sense. You don't seem convinced.
It's funny they bring up the Cyberpunk thing. I mean, it makes sense to go that route, to start with the console, and then you can, turn up the sliders for PC, and maybe it'll even give them just a better optimized version in general, because especially Unreal Engine has 5 specifically has had a lot of issues with stutter and stuff. So maybe in their mind, I assume they're going to start with the weakest variant of the console, which would be the Xbox Series S. Or maybe they start with the PS5 and they go down to the Series S and then go up to PC, and the Xbox Series X is, in there with the PS5. I'm not sure there, but that would make sense to start with console, because we're to the point now where the PS5, as we mentioned, default system, almost 80 million consoles have sold. It's like, let's start with that and then work our way up. So after Cyberpunk, that was a mess of a launch. So I think it's a good strategy. So
yeah, I think it's the right play. I would think they are leading on PS5, but Series S probably would be a problem.
Yeah. I think so too.
That's good to hear, though. It's definitely encouraging, especially after the whole Cyberpunk thing. All right, let's touch on all the Xbox stuff, if only because it does have some next-gen implications. So, in a very short 1-minute video, the president of Xbox, Sabre, announced that Xbox and AMD are continuing their collaboration and entering a strategic multi-year agreement to co-engineer silicon across a portfolio of devices, including the next-generation Xbox consoles. They're also committing to a deeper level of visual fidelity, deeper and richer gaming experiences enhanced with the power of AI, while maintaining compatibility with the existing Xbox library. And most notably, Bond says you won't be locked to a single store, and they're working closely with the Windows team to ensure it's the #1 platform for gaming. So that was a kind of an insane 1-minute thing to put out. I mean, they're making the most formal announcement possible of their next gen hardware, and it kind of sounds a lot like what we were hearing about this thing, right?
Yeah, so they're going to design a chip with AMD, from what I've been seeing, that's going to be more of a universally used chipset if you're targeting gaming. So for PC gaming handhelds, I guess, that want to use the Xbox branding, even laptops, or I guess desktops as well, right? Like AMD is working with Microsoft to make this a reality. And then Windows, Microsoft being a software company first and foremost, is going to merge with gaming Xbox, basically. It's going to be branded that way. And they're going to use Windows across the board. So yes, that means that Steam, I mean, they mentioned other storefronts. So I guess you can load something like Steam on your Xbox and have access to that library because it's running on Windows anyway. It sounds almost a little too good to be true then, that it would all just work.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like, it doesn't, it's damning evidence. That's Sarah Bond saying not locked to us. That's insane.
Yeah. That's the move.
Does this not completely upend the console model? You're going to cannibalize your own store. I mean, they collect 30% on everything they sell in the Xbox store in the traditional console model, which traditionally is subsidized by the things you sell after your games, accessories, services. Now, obviously, Microsoft does have a service to sell, but, you know, I mean, what does this mean for like the price of this box? Because it's not going to be subsidized if you're going to let it be cannibalized by a competing storefront, which, let's be real, is going to be very attractive and it's very aggressive with sales. I mean, and here's the thing too, like, great. That's good. That's awesome for the consumer. I mean, that's like the problem with only having the PlayStation Store on PS5. You have to wait for the publishers to give you a deal. So it's not like this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But I'm just so curious, like, what are they going to do with this thing? Like, what is the play here?
I think I've seen a lot of people ask this question. What are they doing? It doesn't make sense to put Steam on this platform, because you're right. The idea has always been, or really since we've been connected and doing these digital sales, which for the most part, I know it started up with the PS3 and the 360 halfway through, kind of towards the tail end. It really got started with the PS4 and the Xbox One. You buy the box, we'll subsidize it maybe, we'll lose some money, but we're going to end up getting you over the course of the next 5 or 6 years through digital purchases because we get cuts on everything that you buy. But for Microsoft, I almost think they look at the Xbox now a lot differently than they did when they launched the Xbox One, clearly, because if they do this and they tie the Xbox OS or the gaming OS thing into Windows, Xbox is now then joined at the hip with Windows, just outright. And when I look at Windows, I see that as them just continuing to try to capture consumers. It's like that never ending phase where it's user acquisition, just trying to get monthly active users in, trying to get people into this ecosystem, because that's just the way it works with Windows. They get you in and they have all different ways they can monetize you from there. And I think in terms of Xbox, if we look at it as the storefront that they're getting 30% cuts on across the board, I mean, if we're tying it into Windows, I know Sony relies on heavily. it's a drop in the bucket. I'd say now we're dealing with Microsoft as a whole and the amount of money they bring in through that stuff. So if Xbox and the system becomes part of that, it becomes a much bigger thing outside of it. And that's probably why they're looking at it this way. Yeah, they're probably also branded outwards like, hey, you can have an Xbox VR headset, you can have an Xbox handheld. A company come in and make an Xbox their own system, and they can price it at $2,000 if they want. It's this crazy experience. But I think that's kind of how it is. Xbox is becoming a software OS first and foremost. And I guess the box that they make will kind of be like the Surface laptop, right? That's something that they put out there. You can load Steam on it. You have a Windows Store if you want. I think that's kind of what the Xbox is going to be viewed as. It's almost like their Surface line, but for gaming.
I wonder if they're like, is this them just submitting to the idea of like we're going to be low volume with these boxes? They're they're going to be expensive, sure, but like, and I don't want to say give up. They're not giving up, but it's like just letting Sony have that runway. Like, okay, you're going to do a normal sort of subsidized console, and we don't have to worry about how many consoles we sell anymore. Like, if you want it, we have one. It's $900 or something insane like that. Whatever it works out for them too. But I'm so curious to see what it looks like. So curious.
Yeah. So I think that's and the other thing is I mean, this is the way it goes. They're going to tie AI into this chip. One of the big moves right now, the big plays is AI and data collection. I mean, they can get into your living room. Here's the thing. If they can figure out how to tie, I think, PC gaming to the living room, because we really don't have a great solution for that right now. Like Valve is really trying to figure this out with Steam OS, and it's kind of a race right now, I think, to the living room for both Valve and Microsoft. If they can figure that out, there might be some serious, I think there's a lot of potential there for them to do that, because then they could find their way into all these different TVs. Even like you buy a TV, the Xbox, like the Xbox app is already there. It's a Windows based OS for whatever ARM chip is in there. And then you get counted as a monthly active user. So when they show up to the investor briefings, we just talked about Sony having their fireside chat. If Sony shows up and what do they say, like 120 monthly active users, something like that, 120 million.
Oh yeah. Something like that.
Right. If they showed up one day and they were like, yeah, we got 500 million monthly active users, investors would be falling over themselves. They'd be like, I'm sorry, you have 500 million? That's the number that Microsoft shows up with now. All of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, Xbox is part. We have 500 million monthly active users with Xbox, of course, and Windows. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, what? Huh? So I think that's the play. You tie Xbox to Windows, and now you really can't get rid of Xbox because it is part of Windows.
I wonder if that also cuts into like the pre-built market too, because the damn thing's like the most pre-built sort of system out there at that point.
It could. I mean, again, you're right when it comes down to the pricing, because I mean, maybe they don't feel the need to subsidize it.
Yeah, pre-builts are kind of pricey. That's kind of the problem with a pre-built. So I don't know. I wonder if they cut into that too, you know?
And then their Windows OS for gaming apparently is going to allow, it sounds like pie in the sky stuff, but backwards compatibility for Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series on PC, because it's the same OS.
Right. Yeah. Because they'll need to make an emulation layer for like all the Xbox console games.
Right. And I guess it would tie into this chipset that AMD is making. But what if you don't have that chipset on your system now? This is stuff I don't really understand and how that's all going to work. If they figure it out, though, to where Windows can indeed have an emulation layer, and this PC I have right in front of me, all of a sudden, because what happens now, if you have those games in your library or just Game Pass, they just don't apply to your account on PC. You just can't do anything with them. If all of a sudden they show up and they're like, yeah, Windows 11 got this gaming upgrade that you're going to see now, you can opt into, even all of those games start to populate and you can just play them. It might be like, hey, plug in an Xbox controller, or maybe it rebinds to PC. I don't know. There's a lot of value there all of a sudden that gets added overnight that, if I wasn't like a Game Pass subscriber or into Microsoft's ecosystem, I might consider if all of a sudden these Xbox and Xbox 360 and Xbox One games become available. Here's the thing I'm curious about though, Ryan. how do you deal with this from a publisher perspective? Because now your Xbox One or Xbox Series games also become PC. So you have this cross buy that now has been flipped on. Like it's across ownership then, I assume. So when a game comes out for the Xbox pre-build, almost the pre-built system, it's also out on PC then. So are you no longer, maybe they'll like that because they're like, hey, we told you guys we have hundreds of millions of monthly active users that can buy this. You just put it out on one OS. It'll scale to all these different systems. Again, it sounds too good to be true almost.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Christopher Dring brought that up recently. I think he said he was approached by a big established gaming exec from a publisher or something. Did you see this? I guess this person approached Chris and asked him, like, what's going on with Xbox? Like, what are we doing for the next one? Like, because at that point, yeah, well, your executables are PlayStation, used to be Xbox. If you're doing a Switch one, that's in there, and then PC. Is like, as far as like the what a team has to ship, are we just talking a Nintendo one, PC one, and just PS5, and then that's it? Or like, how does what does that look like? Where's that going?
The new tag is Xbox on PC. I'm seeing that pop up now when we hear about systems. That seems to be the new tag. Maybe that's the new platform. Xbox on PC. It's both. That's the question. And they have not necessarily given straight answers here because all they've told us are a few little bits and pieces of information to just throw out there. Here's the thing, though. Word is they might launch this thing end of next year, Ryan. 2026.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That
and they're the ones that are willing to say something right now. They put out that minute video. If anything, the first time they're willing to say something officially like that kind of turns the clock on.
Yeah. We could be 6 or 7 months away from them just making the marketing push. It's pretty obvious. We can all just be real. I think they're kind of done with the Xbox Series a bit there. Dude, the thing is $600. Like, what are we doing here? You know,
I keep forgetting that it actually, like, as the price has increased on it.
I don't really ever see them in stock either.
The sales have got to be abysmal for them. Like, abysmal.
I feel like that's one of the reasons they didn't mind even raising the price because they're already kind of moving on in the background with platforms, I guess, hardware.
So. Yeah, it's wild to say, like, gosh, I mean, because they're basically a third-party publisher now. They're like their PS5 games are subsidizing this hardware.
Yeah,
let's be, because they're having their cake and they're eating it too. They can ship these games over there. They're subsidizing on their what were previously their competitor.
Yeah,
it's a wild world we live in. Wild world,
isn't it? It's really strange. Now, why is this Xbox Series system over on Best Buy? What is this about? It's $700. Why is it $700? Well, it's $650 when you save $50.
Is it that Galaxy one?
It's just regular one, a 1 terabyte Xbox Series X. Is this some random listing or something? That's weird. So it's $600, right? All digital robot white 1 terabyte is $550, or the 2 terabytes $730. I mean, like, I don't know what we're doing there. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't. How can you recommend that to anyone? I can't. I'm like, I mean, $730.
That's a lot of money.
The refurbished one's $550.
Oh, that's better.
I mean, the Series S is like $400. Just they're refurbished PS5s from Sony that are what, $380 or something, $375.
I think they're as low as $350.
$350. It's like,
yeah. Or $300 maybe. I don't remember.
It's less than the Series S basically though. But yeah.
Wild times. We do still have one kind of biggish news story, a big rumor here. Mm-hmm. It was the rumor of Sony considering an acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. So this report was from SE Scoops. I guess they're mostly known for wrestling news. So the credibility is kind of wacky here. Like
I can kind of explain the link to that after you go ahead.
You might want to do it now, because this is one of those things where, like, I saw the news, right? Now, obviously, acquisition stuff is always kind of like very effy, but it's like, never heard of the site. So I'm having to read comments, and people are like, "Oh yeah, this is that wrestling site," and I guess they have sources to Discovery or something. So
yes,
you go ahead.
So here's the reason why you can kind of like, okay, it makes sense. They have sources around things like AEW. AEW, it had a deal with HBO Max.
Okay.
So you can kind of see where, like, okay, you can link the chains together and how they might get to that source. How legitimate is it? You got me. But I can at least see where it connects, at least.
Yeah, that was my understanding of it too. So according to their sources, Sony is considering a purchase of the new WBD Streaming and Studios Company, which that's the spin-off company that is expected to be finalized by mid-2026. And Sony would be looking to acquire that for HBO Max, the associated IPs, and of course the gaming assets. Which there was also another report from Variety about how they're trying to restructure their gaming segment into 4 franchises, key franchises, that being Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and the DC Universe. And the big thing here is that I guess a lot of the debt between these two companies, so the cable side and then this new spinoff company, that debt is staying with the cable side. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously one of the spinoff company looks very attractive to a buyer like Sony. And obviously WB has been going through a mountain of issues, so it's not like they didn't have the canceled Wonder Woman game or Suicide Squad doing terrible or Multiverses getting shut down. But, you look at their studios and it's, you got Rocksteady, NetherRealm, TT Games, Avalanche Software, WB Games Montreal. So, I mean, that's what the rumor is, that they're looking to acquire this portion of the WB spinoff, which, if anything, it seems like a very Sony play, not even so much an SIE thing, because of the streaming stuff, because of what that can do for anime. And you have Hiroki Totoki going on record, like, what was that, six months to a year ago, saying we need more IP. And we know that's not really a PlayStation problem. I don't think Sony has an IP problem per se. And also Sony doesn't really, we know how they acquire studios. They don't really want this baggage, I think. So I don't know, it's interesting. I think there's a lot of ways to look at it.
I'm trying to figure this out with, if they made this happen, if they bought that, so they split, right? These two parts of WB, one is like all the networks and stuff. The other one's like the games studios. I don't really know what they would get in terms of franchises. That's what I'm trying to figure out here, because I don't think they're going to buy this and get Harry Potter.
No, they don't get Harry Potter, but they get what Harry Potter makes, right? The thing, the sort of plausibility I'm trying to look for here as to, like, what would SIE do if they get all these teams, right? And it's like, okay, well, they were very close to Hogwarts Legacy, did a whole state of play, marketing rights, the whole 9 yards. If they get Batman, if they get gaming rights for Batman, like, you come on,
okay, gaming rights, sure.
This segment, or this company rather, loves Marvel properties. Now we have Marvel Tokon. They've got Spider-Man. They got Wolverine. Like, you're telling me they don't want the biggest DC, person out there, and maybe giving Batman to one of their PS studios and doing a very boutique, back to the basic single player Batman game. I could see that happening. They're very invested in the fighting game scene, so it's not like they wouldn't love Mortal Kombat. I'm just trying to piece together, like, where does it fit?
Yeah. Mortal Kombat's probably the best. I think Mortal Kombat, actually, out of all this stuff, fits in the best with them, because of their ties, obviously, to Evo. Mortal Kombat is like a mainstay there, so that would make sense. And I don't know, maybe if they get the entire Mortal Kombat franchise, I assume that would I think come with NetherRealm. You can do more with that. There are movies that recently have actually been picking up more and more interest. They could do animated stuff with it, things to really bolster their streaming and entertainment side, which that's sort of what I looked at this deal with. But even then, I don't really know what comes with HBO Max if you buy that. Like, what do you get from that?
I didn't really look too far into that. I think it's just a lot of whatever HBO has associated with it.
Yeah, this feels like, this seems like a really messy deal.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's like an acquisition rumor that we know they can be super iffy. Like, generally speaking, very few people are in these conversations. So how the hell does that information get out? But like, also, yeah, I'm sure Sony looked at this. Yeah, if they're trying to split these two companies off and make one of them look very attractive to a buyer, sure, like, yeah, Sony looked at it. What happened? That's another story.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like this would be one that would be kind of piecemealed, and you get some things but not others. However, I think it's pretty clear that WB, the way that they've, one, as you mentioned, split this up, but two, in the past talked about it. It kind of feels like they are almost completely, mostly done with games. And they wouldn't mind if someone came in and scooped up this huge workforce they have that are developing games. Like, if we can just kind of get rid of these, that'd be cool. But we'll make the next, Harry Potter game while we're kind of hanging out with this, right? I think right now with them, they're thinking, how do we not take on more and more risk? Because every time they greenlight something, there's more risk. And think about what they're coming off of. Suicide Squad. I think they're excited about that. Gotham Knights. It's like, they've had some hits with Harry Potter, but man, they've been missing too. So it's like they're not in business to even out.
It's tough.
It's tough. I think Sony, if they could make the right deal, they would. I also don't think they would spend $20 billion on whatever HBO is trying to throw to them, or Max, whatever. So,
well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it would maybe be a larger Sony play if it happened. I don't think maybe SI would not be that motivated to pick up what still feels like a lot of baggage, especially with how they typically acquire studios. Like, none of these would ever get picked up by like the way SI normally does it. Mm-hmm. But again, I tried to think of it in a way where maybe it makes sense to PlayStation nowadays, and Batman would work, Mortal Kombat would work. They'd still love to ship, Harry Potter everywhere, like they ship MLB everywhere. Same with the Lego games. I'm sure they'd love to collect 30% on, all these platforms and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think if they could make it work to where they still have the deals for these things, and maybe they take one or two of the studios, I think NetherRealm would make a lot of sense for them to grab. Which, if they did Mortal Kombat, you're right, they'd probably put that everywhere they could still. I don't think they'd be like, no, Mortal Kombat's now just PlayStation. That seems like one that is established across the board, and they would just keep making like a Harry Potter. That would be my thought. You get NetherRealm. I don't know if they want Rocksteady's gone through it a lot too. They've lost a lot of their leadership. The founders are gone. It's like, what's actually left of that studio?
Yeah,
that's the thing. I'm trying to pick and choose. What do they want?
Yeah, they do, and that's the other thing too. They value talent. That's like PlayStation typically never like went out of their way to acquire IP. They foster IP themselves usually. So if these studios are kind of not bare bones, but if you have some of that core talent that put out the games we used to love and they're not there anymore, I'm not sure what the value really is. I almost think if it happened, like, watch them just stay under like Sony Music or something, and they're not even like in PlayStation studios.
That's true.
Yeah, they just keep operating independently, or I don't know. Weird rumor.
I think they have Area 51. Is that WB?
Area 51.
Is that them?
Oh shit, that's a classic.
It might be. I don't know who. I guess maybe. Let's see. Time Warner Interactive, Atari Games, Midway Games. I don't know. I don't know who owns this.
Area 50. You just thought it was like WB or something?
It's under their franchises.
Oh yeah.
I was looking under Joust. There you go. Revive Joust.
Joust.
That's funny. Either way, the split doesn't even happen until mid 2026, so we still have a ways off from that even being a potential thing for them.
Right. Got one more for you, John. Shuhei Yoshida is speaking with Kit and Krista, the former Nintendo employees. Or if you're paying attention to crazy shit that happens online, the former Nintendo executives.
Getting liberal with those titles, man. My gosh.
So Shuhei, of course, he's been on the press junket, always showing up on all these podcasts. He did one with Kit and Krista.
Not on Mr. Ryan.
No, not with me. But John, stop. I didn't even ask him.
Shuhei, where are you? Hey, if you're out there, Shuhei, you're watching, dude, at the 2.5 hour mark almost.
The The damn thing is, he's spoken to so many people. I'm not even sure what I want to ask him now. I'd have to go.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and
true.
look. I'd have to go back and listen to everything and find like the sliver of news stories I want to.
You would ask him about some random like PlayStation accessory or something that you're thinking of.
That's the problem. I'd probably ask him things that are so niche.
You should ask him about the most obscure things you can come up with and just have an entire hour-long discussion about like the PlayStation bus or something. So, like the most obscure things you can come up with.
Oh, like the PS2 Underground bus that went on tour in 2004. Hey, Shuhei, were you on there? Was it easy to step up on the truck, or like what did you guys do when it was really hot out? And, yeah, just,
you'd ask the most random stuff just see what he remembers.
That's true. It's funny watching a lot of his interviews, and he's like, and then like the host has to tell him like what he did or something. It's funny. So
that'd be fun. Just you an obscure PlayStation thing, see what Shuhei immediately remembers.
Maybe. I haven't reached out, just for clarity's sake.
Shuhei, get on it. It'd be a fun interview, you and Ryan.
Back on topic, John. He was speaking with Kit and Krista, former Nintendo employees. Really funny talk though, because it is cool to have like two, Nintendo folk talking with Shuhei. So one cool thing they brought up was, how does PlayStation feel about Nintendo? What was it like internally? So this kind of came out and was kind of a little bit of a conversation there. So he admitted that at his time at Sony, during internal presentations, analysis of the market, Shuhei's like, yeah, as far as competition goes, it was PlayStation versus Xbox. He's like, Nintendo just wasn't even there. So he straight up says Nintendo was not there, but also it's not they weren't ignoring Nintendo, just that they acknowledged they had different audiences. So they were never seen as like direct competitors. In fact, Shuhei frames it as Nintendo players can lean more young and they bring in, a younger audience. And so if anything, Sony would often like that because it's like, oh, maybe those customers will graduate to a PlayStation someday. He did add one caveat here, which was Japan. Japan was the exception because Xbox basically isn't a thing there. So the Sony Japan folk, they definitely considered Nintendo versus Sony, but on a global scale, it just was not a thing.
Think about if you're in Japan and you go to work for Sony and you get on the subway, right? And you walk right past the big Mario 3D World poster and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Then you get on there and you get off and it's like, oh yeah, there's this big Switch ad here. You keep walking, there's a Splatoon ad and you're like, man. I mean, that's probably what they see a lot of is like, yeah, that's right. This is kind of Nintendo's country basically. So,
well, nowadays to be honest, when he said that, I was thinking of like basically your same setup, but that Japanese Sony businessman sees a DS and he's seething with anger. Like, God.
Yeah, the DS. Oh yeah, this would have been like DS 3 or DS, 3DS, PSP Vita territory.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
For him. I mean, okay. I guess he could do PS3 and Wii. The thing is, PS3 and Wii didn't really line up well. Yeah, so that's kind of the Wii U. Obviously, was a struggle the whole way. The Switch caught momentum, but by then we were still wonder where Shuhei was really at that time, with them. And
you got to figure they were fucking pissed losing Monster Hunter.
That's good. No, that's a fair point.
To 3DS. Yep. Like damn, son. We sold so many PSPs with Monster Hunter and we lost it to.
I thought that's what Shuhei mentioned. Did he mention in the past about Monster Hunter? And that was like the big thing that he got kind of not scared about, but was like, whoa, hold on a minute. And they got Monster Hunter from us.
Yeah, that was a different conversation, but like that's what I thought of for sure. Yeah, it's like losing Monster Hunter for Vita was like huge. So
yeah, it's interesting though the way he mentioned that the graduating to PlayStation. Again, at different time. Like if you go back to the Wii or Wii U era, then that's how they look at it. It's like that it doesn't have a Blu-ray player or these high-end graphics or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
Does this surprise you at all though? Because I feel like this is like a conversation that comes up like I can remember this debate for like the past 10, 15, 20 years, which is like Sony versus Nintendo. And like somebody usually chimes in going, you know what? I think Sony really doesn't consider them competition. Maybe not direct competition because they sell to different audiences. I was always of that mind. I felt a little validated hearing Shuhei say this. I'm like, yeah, they're not really on the same footing.
Yeah, but the question then becomes, how long until they are on the same footing? Because where we are now, you are starting to see, like, I think if Shuhei was there now, I feel like the conversations are becoming a little different internally at Sony. This makes perfect sense to me, looking at the Wii generation, the Wii U, and you could probably even say like the earlier days of the Switch, all right? Because it's a system, the Switch one, that clearly is limited versus the PS4 in terms of third-party support and stuff. But the Switch 2, it is 4K, it is HDR, and you start to see the numbers get thrown up, and we know the resolution, the frame rate and stuff differ. PS5 clearly has advantages there. I just wonder about that mainstream consumer, and if Sony's like, because Sony was asked, as you mentioned briefly during their business discussion, they were kind of asked about that, like, hey, should we be a little more concerned about Nintendo, because now it is 4K and it's playing Cyberpunk, and we're seeing comparisons being run, and the mainstream consumer is kind of like, is it good enough? It's like, are we getting to a point where the diminishing returns are allowing Nintendo basically to catch up?
Yeah. Well, see, the way I always like to phrase it, if I ever talked about this conversation of Sony versus Nintendo, is that they compete not directly. Maybe it's, more direct nowadays, but the other issue is that I think their biggest competitor is everything. So it goes back to the time thing. Yeah. Anything that keeps somebody off a PlayStation, that's competition to them. And yep. I'm fairly sure internally that's the number one thing they focus on right now. Because this more so when you look at the slides, and they're heavily focused on engagement and gameplay hours. That's a metric they follow super closely. So arguably Switch 2, yes, but also again, whether it is an Xbox or Netflix or TikTok, if you're not on PlayStation, we got a problem.
Yep.
But I think historically, the way Shuhei was phrasing it, that's how I always understood it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, again, during the time he's probably referring to, it makes sense. I'd be curious now to hear what the conversation is within Sony, how it maybe is different from then versus now. The Wii U looks a lot different than the Switch 2, like in terms of even the look of the Switch 2, it looks very mature, I guess, compared to what they've done in the past.
I'd say so.
Yeah. And now it's $450 or $500. It costs the same as the PS5.
Arguably, are most Switch 2 buyers not like at the very minimum like people in their 20s and 30s?
Yeah, they have like the thing they put out, and basically the people who had the Wii U growing up, and then the Switch growing up, which it's funny. Josie, she was like, yeah, I got the Switch when I was in middle school. That was my first system I bought. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You start out young with the Wii U, you move up to the Switch, you grow up to college, and then you get the Switch 2. Yeah. And the entire user base there has just gotten older. And the one concern that I think all these companies should have is, how do you get that younger generation that, as you mentioned, man, really like that tablet?
Well, also PC. A lot of them are jumping to PC. Yeah.
PC. Yeah. These are the questions they got to ask, and that's why something like an Astrobot, it makes a lot of sense for them to continue on with,
Yep.
So.
All right, John, that's all. Those are all my news stories. Not sure if you got anything for us here.
Well, other than the pressure for the MindsEye Platinum to be put in the next 30 Platinums in 30 days, which I think the audience will agree is necessary now.
What if you did spoil 30 Platinums Part 4? That's could have been a game I could do.
You can still do it.
But now people know. Now it's coming.
It would be better if it was its own thing. I'll tell you that now. Like how you do those videos where you go through. This would absolutely, I'm telling you, some of the cutscenes, some of the gameplay, some of it's aggravating as well. Yeah.
I think by the time I finished it, and I mean finish the video, it probably wouldn't be super relevant anymore, but I don't know. People can let me know.
You could wait a year from now and title it something like I platinumed MindsEye a year later or something like that. And
people can let me know if they want to see that, but I'll be honest, I am looking to jump into DS too. So
you can beat MindsEye in one sitting, record the whole thing so that at the end of it, we can see your fatigued, tired, grizzled eyes like, oh my gosh, this game. And then you find out you're missing one trophy and you got to go back and do a mission after playing it for 10 hours. You're like, oh.
John, you're talking to the guy that still isn't done with Rebirth. On what planet can I give a day to MindsEye? Even a day to MindsEye is a precious Rebirth session.
Mm.
And John, Luminous Arise is coming out later this year. I
But
gotta say that too.
MindsEye is content for the channel. And you can catalog your pain the entire way through.
And I just got Clear Obscuron. Got my copy.
Just now. What?
Got my physical. Well, yeah, it was sold out. What do you want me to do?
Play the game?
What do you mean? John, it was sold out. What do you want me to do? It was sold out.
Buy it, play it digitally, and then get it later when it's physical. And then
it's like you don't even know me. It's like you don't even know me. The game. The reality is the game was not available to me until it came in stock. That's the way I looked at it.
Got it. Okay.
And now I got it.
What's your PSX going to give it to you?
Oh, PSX going to give it to you. What? This is the segment of the show where I would have done a full-blown DMX like woof, but also I'm really bad at it. And that is where the reference is from for those kids that don't know. PSX Gonna Give It To You, though, is the topic of the show where we go through PlayStation history, something neat, nostalgic, old, maybe teach the kids something about PlayStation history. This one really caught me off guard. I forgot that people don't know this is a thing. John, you know, on my channel, every video, typically, my little small 1-second splash intro is a Mystic logo, but it's sequenced like the PS3 OG launch animation.
Mm-hmm,
you know what I'm talking about? Where it's Mystic, it goes doo-doo-doo, and it zooms out. I guess a lot of people don't realize that is a old PS3 launch animation that does not exist anymore.
Oh, interesting. Really? They didn't know that?
Somebody, I think it was a tweet, and it was a trailer that somebody shared. And it was an old PS3 trailer with the old logo or something. And I saw like one or two people say like, yo, that's where Mystic's intro is from. And then I had this like old man moment. I'm like, oh shit, people don't know what that even is. They don't know what that is. I'm assuming you're looking it up. I do have a link for you if you want it. Of the actual PlayStation 3.
I haven't seen like the original one in so long.
Yeah, the original one. So that's the thing. Now, obviously the PS3, when I say PS3 startup sequence, it was always an orchestra. It's always the XMB waves, right. PS3 logo, the orchestra. But Sony used to have a game launch animation like PS2 or PS1 or even the PSP. So when you launched a game, nowadays most people know just black goes into studio logos and there's your game. There was a very quick little splash, old PS3 Spider-Man logo. It would come up, it would play that chime and go away. They removed that with the PS3 rebranding in 2019. So that launch sequence was only there for about 3 years. Less than 3 years, I think.
I remember that. Yeah, that's right. When you launched the game. Yep. Always kind of remind me of the PSP one.
Well, yeah, the PSP one was like a little louder. It was like a bunch of bubble animations that came out almost.
That's funny.
But for those that don't know, that is my Mystic logo. It's just modeled after the old PS3 launch startup. Go to YouTube, check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But that is not me being creative. That is me just straight up ripping the old PS3 sequence.
Top comment is, I remember when Sony made you feel like starting up your PS3 was magical.
It's a hell of a comment.
They did try to, they tried to dress it up as this like overpowering box almost because of all the stuff they threw at it. Even the little touch like that though, launching into the game, I could see it. I mean, that's back when we were just getting like nicer flat screen TVs with HDMI connections, and PS3 was ahead of it for that. I just remember starting it up in the OS, the cross media bars looking so clean, something like that, just throwing it up, that kind of that logo up at you with the sound, and it was a good time. It's a little details.
It's a little details. I don't know. It sucks that they took it out though. I don't know why they didn't just change the logo, like, because it's the old PS3 logo. Could have just like used the new one, but still do the doo-doo-doo.
20th anniversary for PS3 is next year. petition to get this added to the PS5 as the real theme. Like that, not the weird PNG theme stuff. No, like actually get this to where you launch a game, you get hit with that. That'd be cool.
But now those are precious seconds that are taken away from the fast PS5 boot up times.
People can wait.
People can wait for this like less than 2-year thing that apparently people have never even seen before.
It's new to them.
That is new to them. Right, I was very surprised. That's not the first time I've seen somebody say, "Oh, that's where your intro came from." It is.
I played MLB The Show back in the day, and this is what I definitely remember seeing this when I started up MLB The Show.
That's the game that's the one. Wow.
Yeah, because I played it for the longest time. I played it on the PS2 before I got a PS3. And what's funny is I got the PS3 and I still played, I think it was MLB The Show 07 at that time. I played the PS2 disc on the fat PS3 because I didn't have the PS3 version yet. So I don't think I was seeing that animation because that was for PS3. I don't think I saw that when I booted up the PS2 game.
No, you wouldn't see that because it goes into PS2 mode. Then you actually get the old PS2.
Yeah. So the first time I think I saw that is when I rented MLB The Show 07 after I got the PS3. So that was like the first game I remember really playing on the PS3 without going into, well, even when I went over to a friend's house, I wasn't necessarily paying attention to the screen right away when they were popping the game in. That was like that moment of sitting back quiet in the room by yourself with your own system and like getting that intro playing, Again, it didn't hit the same when you were at a friend's house and everyone's just kind of chatting and talking and stuff. I'll pop the game in, we'll play it. That quiet. Middle of the night, Ryan, 11 o'clock at night, silent, crickets maybe. I'm setting the scene.
Remembers it like it was yesterday.
Hey, I will tell you this: the first time you get a system, and it is that setting, it's memorable, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
right?
I remember. Yeah. I remember it so well. Have I told you the story of how I got my launch PS3?
You. Maybe I don't know. Did you?
Well, I got a launch PS3, but I didn't get it on day one.
Oh, I thought you got it on day. No, I thought you waited outside for it.
I wanted to. My mom wouldn't let me.
Oh well, people were getting robbed, so it's not a bad idea to not.
She was completely within her right to say no. Maybe don't do that. I got one a week later. I was in school, and like something got caught in my eye. I went to the nurse. And like my eye kept watering and it was like terrible. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go home or something. So I went home. This was a week after launch. I'm still upset and salty and on copium that I didn't get a PS3, but I'm calling GameStops every day thinking like maybe they'll have one. And then I called and they were like, when I got home from leaving school early, so this is very serendipitous, mind you. I called GameStop and they're like, yeah, we got one. He said it so nonchalant too, like, oh yeah, of course we have one. What do you mean? Of course you have one. Like, so I rushed downstairs and told my grandfather, I'm like, this is the kind of guy where you could ask for a favor. He's probably not going to do it. And if he is going to do it, he's going to do it 2 hours later. So I rushed downstairs and I told him, this is non-negotiable. We have to leave now. We have to go now. They have one, right? They have one PS3. We have to go now. And sure as shit, he actually did it, which was mind-blowing. We go there. Guy brings the console up to the counter, and it is a launch model because it came with a copy of Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights on Blu-ray. That's how you know it was a launch unit. So I don't know how this console was sitting there and nobody bought it, but that's how I got my PS3. Brought it home. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what I launched. I remember all that stuff.
Did you put a game in first or did you put Talladega in first?
I put Resistance in.
All right, good. All right. So you bought the PS3 and you bought Resistance.
Well, my uncle had a PS3. He was able to get one. So I played his copy.
Okay.
Yeah. But it wasn't mine. It wasn't
mine.
Right.
Yeah. That's funny. You gotta school. So the moral of the story is if there's a new console launching, go to the nurse, pretend like you're hurt, go home, and then call the store.
Sure. Yeah. Oddly enough, I got a Wii Day one, but I caught the pre-orders for that, so I got lucky.
I had to wait out in line at Walmart for that. But I got it at midnight. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, John. That's all I got for you.
All right. Good stuff. We will be at Too Many Games this weekend. We got a panel
TNG.
on Saturday, and we also have signings on Saturday. Meet and greet. Yes. So we won't hopefully end up on the parking lot this time because we got extra time. So that'll be nice. Have AC for the signings and stuff. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to do some giveaways during the panel as well. Yeah, if you want to give anything else away, Ryan, just bring it with you.
Oh shit! Can I bring my copies of Hannah Montana on PS2?
You can give away whatever you want. It's gonna be a mystery box. People can pick what they want. If they because Q&A, look, people are coming up asking questions. You know what? You should be able to go home with something. We're gonna give away some prizes, some gifts and stuff. It'll be fun.
I actually do have like 90 sealed copies of that game, and I am trying to get rid of them. So
you can be that guy.
maybe I'll bring some shit people don't want.
You can be that guy. Hey, it's just getting fun stuff for asking questions. So I think it'll be fun. We'll have a panel though. It'll be a good time. Looking forward to it. Maybe we'll find some stuff. We'll tell you what. We'll let you guys know what we found. We'll do some pickup stuff afterwards in the next Click R3 when we come back.
Hey, do some. All right, a little pickup style. All right, John.
Show some stuff off. So it'll be a good time though. So if you're in the greater Philadelphia or Philadelphia area, Northeast, come on out. See you guys then. I think that's it though. That's Mr. Ryan. Check him out down in the description, of course. And we'll be back a couple of weeks to do it all over again. And we'll see you guys then.